Work. Okay, and we're live.
All
Hopefully,
right.
hopefully
All
all the
right, here we
channels are
go.
working. I welcome you guys so much to Polish Agnes's channel. I welcome you to Grey Wolf's channel. Welcome you to One American No Party channel. I really appreciate you guys so much coming today and doing this very last second. Welcome all the patriots, our awesome community, our awesome freedom fighters. You probably may know some people here in the room, but let's start with having everybody say something about themselves and what's their connection with the freedom and how much they really love this country. So let's start with Grey Wolf Ron.
Thank you, Polish Agnes. Thank you.
So, what's your connection with freedom? Tell us.
We got an audio feedback going. Somebody's got going.
You have to make sure we don't get any echo. So, if you have any YouTube going or any other platform, you have to turn it off.
Oh, mine is off.
I don't hear anything, but
Oh yeah, it's going.
yeah, someone's got something going in the background.
Hang on.
That's good here.
Hold on one sec. All right, I just shut my phone off, so.
Okay. All right, I got all the. I didn't get notification for Grey Wolf. Let's see if he's even live on Rumble, or did I mess something up?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What's that?
All right. It sounds like it's gone away.
We good?
No, stand by. I'm still hearing it. Somebody's echoing it back through.
Let's mute. Let's see if that.
Hold on one sec.
I can hear everybody. Everybody hear me?
I'm still hearing a conversation that occurred 60 seconds ago. So I know it's not.
Okay, why don't everybody just hit the mute button? There is a mute underneath your panel, and we can just let Ron talk.
Yep.
Okay. Now. I'm hearing this is weird. I don't know where it's coming from. Anyway, maybe I can just put this aside and let's see if it works itself out. Ron Coleman, I go by the handle Grey Wolf, and I have been around in the freedom side of things for a few years, but what I've been doing recently since February, I've participated in the People's Convoy that went to from Adelanto to Washington D.C. and was part of the delegation that went to meet with senators and congressmen back in March, on March 8th, and directly after that, wound up starting a walk for freedom, and with the idea of waking people up to do something about what's happening in the country and moving the country, well, should we say getting the country back on track, I guess is the best way. I won't take any more of the time. We'll see if we can hand it off to someone else.
Sure, let's move on to Vern, One American No Party, which probably my viewers already know, but I would love for you to tell us what's your connection with the freedom movement and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I think most of the people that watch you know who I am. I'm Vern, One American No Party. I got involved with the People's Convoy. Been mouthy for several years about freedom, but started actually getting out and about and doing more things that need to be done just in this past year. Um, throughout the year, been with People's Convoy of try to help out 1776 RM. What was the other one? 104 DC. You know, different movements that you can get involved in, which everybody should get involved with every now and then. Kind of what I do, just be mouthy online and be mouthy in person and be loud. And thanks for the invite, Agnes.
Of course, I tried to contact people that I thought they're really into the politics. That's the first thing, and also they're the biggest patriots that I know. And I knew that Ron is going to for sure know about this case because he's very knowledgeable. And I know you, Vern, like to really do talk a lot about what's going on in the country as well. And I really do thank you that you came together and we can watch also on your channels. Now I'm going to move on to our two guests that we don't really know and not being really familiar, and you guys have never been on either one of our channels. And first is Sean. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself, and can you please tell us what's your connection with the freedom?
Well, I met Nick a while back actually, and can you hear me? We all set? Okay. I met Nick, and we shared the same love here for the country and wanting to get it back on track, and we just kind of got together, and I joined PWA, and I'm kind of like the loud and proud, part of PWA. So that's kind of how I came involved with Nick, really. But other than that, I'm just, from a small town and ready to get things back on track and see things, getting back to the good. This is too much bad, and it's time to turn it around.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So let's talk to Nick Corn Pop. And I'm going to just mention that your Rumble channel, which you also had a YouTube channel, unfortunately was taken away from you.
Yep.
Your Rumble channel is The Real Corn Pop 1776, correct?
Yep. That's my channel.
And it's going underneath on my banner. So please make sure that you guys give a little bit of love to Nick, subscribing to his channel. Please tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your connection to freedom?
So, pretty much I started a group kind of right after, what happened in January 6th. It was called PWA, after everything that happened. Pretty much what we do is we protested a lot during the mask mandates and stuff. We did a lot of went to a lot of the school boards and stuff like that. We've been pretty active here in Maine. What caused me to do all this was seeing what was going on here locally in Maine with our schools, with our children, just with everything going on.
Okay, so the way how I met Nick and then, Sean came was through my awesome Patriot family here in Connecticut. Listen, my
Agnes?
Yeah?
Can we pause for just a moment? Can
Yeah?
everybody
Mute?
because I'm getting like a 60 I can't even understand the conversation. Can we have everybody check your settings and make sure you have echo cancellation activated?
Okay. Are you sure you don't have YouTube going?
I don't have anything going.
Okay.
It was fine until Sean came on, and then when she came on, that's when it went nuts.
Okay.
I don't think I got anything open.
I'm about to say I closed all my windows.
Yeah,
see,
I got
I'm just
no
now
window.
hearing you ask if we've got any YouTube going.
All right, hold on.
So
well, I have
if you
echo
go into
cancellation.
settings audio and make sure that echo cancellation.
Yeah, everyone's got the same settings. Everyone is echo and everyone is on automatic. I cannot hear a thing.
I don't hear an echo.
Oh,
either.
it's bad. I can't understand a single thing that's being said.
Hey, Vern, you're gonna have to unmute yourself because I can't check the settings. Oh.
Yeah, I muted it because we were trying to make sure the echo don't come through. I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
know if it was
everyone
coming
is on
from.
echo cancellation.
Do you hear an
What
echo, bud?
about
I'm so
well, because I don't have, I can't check the settings.
Yeah, I muted it.
it's
And now I hear it too.
it's completely unintelligible. All I'm getting is a complete loop back of all the audio.
Hey, Grey Wolf, you want to try to restart yourself, maybe? Because no one can hear it but you.
And it's everybody. Okay,
No,
I'll
it's
leave and
just
come
you.
back.
You can only hear it. We cannot hear anything.
But anyway, so I'll kind of explain myself a little more. So I started a group up here in Maine called PWA. We do a lot of protesting. We do a lot of standing up. We did a lot of protesting at school boards and stuff like that. Pretty much what we do is we're the group that don't really care what people say. You know, we're gonna voice our opinion. We're gonna stand up for what is right. We're gonna, we're not gonna care about what someone says about us on Facebook. As you can tell, we're not allowed to have a Facebook page. We're not allowed to have a YouTube channel. I mean, we even had PayPal before PayPal came out with all those restrictions. We even had a PayPal where you could donate to the group, and that was taken off our page. So,
I
mean,
don't
pretty
even
much,
have a Facebook being kicked off so many times. I was done with it.
so pretty much we're a group of freedom fighters that have been standing up since pretty much we realized the election was stolen, and we live in a small liberal town, and just we're not afraid to stand up.
Yeah, it was in the chat when you went live. The box inside the chat in my computer went active, and it was sitting there just beating itself. So I had to delete the chat.
Oh, that does sound a lot better, though. You do sound
Yeah.
a lot better. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, it was just going crazy. It was just like,
All right,
whoa. So now I can.
It's terrible to echo. Oh my gosh, it's terrible.
Oh, and it wasn't even like a reverberation. It was like 60 seconds later.
Yeah.
I'm hearing the conversation all over again. So it was like,
well, I ain't gonna lie.
What is that?
I froze up introducing myself, like staring at the phone. So it's all right. I had to reintroduce.
That's
myself.
why I was just trying to talk, and I couldn't understand what everyone else was saying. So I apologize for that interruption.
No, you're
back.
good. I'm glad we squared it up and everyone is good, so we can have a great conversation. Hopefully, this is going to be an awesome stream. That's what I'm really counting on, and we're all patriots here, and I already have. We didn't even start it. It's only 13 minutes. I have already that I see that I have 65 people. I really don't know what the rest is watching on you guys's because Rumble is not showing me how many people is watching, but if we probably put everyone together, it will be around 100 people. So we
21
didn't even
are on my stream.
Yeah, we didn't even started really talking about the good stuff, the real stuff,
All right,
I got
so
48.
Who wants to lead?
Awesome.
Let's get into it.
Well, just let me one thing. Can everybody just take a second right now? And please make sure you subscribe to Polish Agnes on Rumble all together. One American No Party all together. The Real Corn Pop 1776 all together. And Grey Wolf Run all together on Rumble. You guys have to help us to have a platform where we will be free to talk about things like that. Unfortunately, we cannot do this on YouTube. We can only do this on Rumble. So everyone who didn't get the account on Rumble yet and didn't subscribe, you have to do this. You have no choice. If we will ever look for any kind of information, you have to turn to Rumble. Okay? Do not look for Facebook. Do not look for YouTube. You have to give us an opportunity to spread the word, to still continue the fight, to fight for this country. And if you want to all see it, you have to go to Rumble. So once again, Polish Agnes, One American No Party, The Real Corn Pop, 1776, and Grey Wolf Run, and that's all Rumble. Today we have met, honestly, to talk about the case that I didn't have too much information about, and I'm going to admit to you guys that I have been slacking on really reading and educating myself on what's going on in this country because I have been just so busy, trying to hit all the freedom movements and help and participate. I even went to Canada, okay, to help with their movements. So I really had no time to research or read. But this case really is one of the most important, I would say, cases in the whole entire United States. And we have people here who know a lot of stuff about it. And we want to share all this information with you guys. But also there's going to be something else that we will ask you to help us with. And that will be printing or writing, probably printing letters that you can send to Supreme Court and you can send to Brunson's brothers in support of this case. I think that Nick, who is the first person who actually told me, hey, Agnes, can we do this? I'm going to give you the way to go and you can tell us, what the case is all about and what you really do know and what are you expecting for our audience here.
So I found out pretty much about the case probably about 3 weeks ago. And from what I know about the case, the Brunson brothers, there's 4 of them. Loy Brunson and I might say the name wrong, but it's Raland Brunson. They filed 2 separate lawsuits. They filed one in state court and they filed one in federal court. Now, the one they filed, they filed 2 of them. Now, the one that they filed in federal court, they found out that if under rule number 11, that they could actually, so they've been, I'm sorry, I kind of fast forward a little bit. So in order to present the case in front of the Supreme Court, you need the lower courts to rule on it. So both these brothers, when they filed one in federal court and one in state court, we're waiting on both courts to rule on this lawsuit. So let me explain what this lawsuit is all about. So what this lawsuit is all about is on January 6th of 2020, when Ted Cruz and 100 members stood up in front of Congress and said, hey, listen, we need to look into foreign election and we need to look into this election. And pretty much 388 members said, you know what, screw you. We're going to certify this election anyways, and didn't give us those 10 days is what this lawsuit is all about. So these 4, like I said, these 4 brothers, they filed 2 separate lawsuits, one in state court, one in federal court. Now, in order for these lawsuits to get presented in front of the Supreme Court, they need both courts to rule on these, which they had been waiting on. And with the one in federal court, they found out with Rule 11 that they didn't need to wait on the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals to do a ruling. And they were able to present this in front of the Supreme Court as a national security.
National emergency.
National emergency. And once they filled out the proper paperwork to do that and presented it as a national emergency, the Supreme Court actually called them and took the case yet, because it's got to go into conference. Now, I'm sorry, what was the other gentleman's name? The older gentleman down, Ron. Yeah, Ron knows probably just as much as I do in this too as well. You want to speak on it a little bit?
Yeah, in actuality, there were 4 cases that were brought forth by the 4 Brunson brothers. Loy, Loy. Loy is the eldest brother. You've got Roland, and you've got a few of the others. However, when they shot the cases off, it was kind of like, okay, there were 4 identical cases. And you're right in the Rule 11 comment. The Rule 11, what had happened was they had put it in front of the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, this was not Loy's case, but Roland's case. And the 10th, the Court of Appeals, I'm sorry, that was Loy's case.
I'm about to
And
say
the,
it's Lloyd's case that went in front of the 10th Circuit of
right,
Appeals.
Loy's case went in front of that, and it was being held up. So they were in communication with the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court had said, the individual in the Supreme Court said, well, this is an important case. So under a national emergency, you can file under Rule 11 and just put that particular verbiage of Rule 11 into the case and get it to us. And they had it drafted, they had it packaged, they had it page counted, and they had it printed and everything. And then all of a sudden they got a decision that came out of the 10th Circuit. And when they did that, they called the Supreme Court and said, well, do we still need this Rule 11 in the case or not, in the docket? And that's docket 22-380. So they were told, remove the Rule 11 now that you've got a lower court moving on it. And so they did. They also were quite surprised that they were told by the Supreme Court, they were asked, how quickly can you get this docket to us?
Yes.
And they said, oh, a couple of weeks. And they were like, well, can you make it faster?
We want it now.
We want it now. So,
that's
and
probably
that
the
moved
most
in 1 week. They did that in 1 week when they got it there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean to
Didn't
cut
they
you
sign
off,
like a waiver
problem.
too of a position or something like that?
but that
I'm sorry?
But what
Yeah.
Good.
Go ahead.
well, what I'm saying was wrong, but I didn't mean to cut you off. But what you just said right there, where when the Supreme Court asked, "Hey, how quick can you get it back?" See, that's one thing that the people need to understand when I try to explain this case to people, and they're all like, oh, well, the court's crooked. They're not going to, like, if you actually took the time and looked into this case and realized what had to happen for this case to be where it's at, the Supreme Court could have shut this case down way before it got to where it's at now. The Supreme Court has reached out to these brothers. When the brothers call, they
They get
answer
through immediately.
Yes.
They're not getting a voicemail. They're getting the Court of Clerks, which is the lawyer of the entire Supreme Court, pretty much.
Right.
So what's
I don't mean, if I'm wording that wrong, I apologize. But from what I'm understanding, that's what the Court of Clerks is for the Supreme Court.
Right.
You're not getting some secretary that's relaying a message. That's the important part of this.
And to pick up on that, the court clerk that actually is working with the Brunson brothers was actually the Supreme Court's lawyer for 11 years. So it's not just some document pusher at the Supreme Court. This is an individual who was actually the lead attorney that took on any case that came to the Supreme Court that needed to have arbitration or had to have any kind of a legal standing. That lawyer became the court clerk. That is the same individual that's working with the Brunson brothers in pushing this forward to the Supreme Court.
But also, back to what
got,
Sean said. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, bud.
No, I just got one question, because there's one thing I wasn't quite clear when I was reading all this today a little bit, is whether or not, because the one thing I was reading, it looks like they're deciding whether or not they're going to hear it on January 6th. And the other one was saying that they are going to hear it January 6th.
No,
Okay,
so they
which
go.
one is it?
They go in a conference.
Right. I can explain it if you want, Corn Pop. There's a couple of stages, Vern, that the court has to go through. The first is called a conference. And I'm going to, if I can have you look at the screen, you've got, this is the Supreme Court's page, okay? And if you go in and you look for a docket number 22-380 right here.
Oh, that's
you can then look at the proceedings and the orders, and what you'll see is everything that occurred on what day and what is scheduled. And what you can see right now is that on 1/6, it is distributed to go to conference. So this is the first thing you get to when you go to the Supreme Court page and you look up case documents and you go to a docket search. You don't want to look for a case number. You want to look for a docket search number, and that's where it's 22-380. And so that's the first thing that occurs is that it gets put on that page. Once it's done with that page, it now has to go to conference. And so we see a conference date of 1/6 right now. Now, here's the interesting part. You only need 4 justices out of the 9 to actually move this case into a hearing, where now you're opening up for arguments in the hearing, and that is somewhat interesting as well. And if you don't mind, I can actually throw that at you as well.
No,
Go ahead.
Can I add something? Because you're talking about the conference, that's really important to express about. So when they go into conference too, that a lot of people don't understand, these 9 Supreme Court justices are not sitting in the same room. They're not all looking at each other, seeing how each other votes. When these Supreme Court justices go into conference, they're by themselves. They vote but by themselves. They don't see how the other Supreme Court justices are voting. That's very important to realize too, because that kind of takes the pressure off of them, I think.
Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about the case. The case that is
okay. Can I step you
Go
real
ahead.
quick? Because you guys started with the details already.
Right. And
I'm
that's what
not
I was just going to back it up.
Yeah, I'm not quite 100% sure that everyone who's watching this is really understanding what this case is all about and why is it out there.
Right.
So
Well, Corn Pop did bring that up a little bit, and I'm sorry to cut you off there.
So what this case is,
why do we have this case? Tell me why do we have this case intact?
So on January 6th, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Here's the summation. Go ahead. On
January 6th, when Ted Cruz and 100 members in Congress, so they're supposed to give 10 days for us to look into foreign interference. When Ted Cruz and 100 members stood up and said, "Hey, listen, we need to look into this. Election. We might have foreign interference." Now, from my understanding, I might be wrong. If they would have given us those 10 days, this case probably wouldn't have the standing that it has now, even if they still certified Joe Biden. What this case is 100% about is them not giving us those 10 days to look into foreign interference to protect us from foreign and domestic terrorists.
Well, it actually doesn't have to be tied to the foreign side of that, Corn Pop. What it is it was this. If you look at the actual case and the verbiage within the case itself, what it is a reference to a claim that there was malfeasance in the election of 2020. And with that, there was 100 members plus in Congress that wanted an investigation into the election to look for malfeasance of the election, or were there, because there was plenty of cases, there was 86 cases that were going around the country at the time saying we've got evidence of fraud in the election. We want that. You had Rudy Giuliani and Jen Ellis were going all through and meeting with Senate legislatures in the battleground states, and they were producing a stack of evidence. 100 members of Congress wanted, it was 100, actually over 100, but they wanted to have an investigation into the legitimacy of the claims, and they were poo-pooed. They were basically said, not going to happen. There is the number one case or mention was there's no precedence of ever doing this. And that is incorrect. There was actually called the Compromise of 1877. And in the Compromise of 1877, there was a 10-day pause given for Rutherford B. Hayes's election. So there is precedence where there was a 10-day pause where they looked into the claims that were put through by both the left and the right parties. And they did the 10 days, and they gave, it was 3 states that were in the South that were dragging their feet. And so that case is the precedence that this case is based upon. That 10-day window of having 100 members of Congress say, we want you to take a pause and to look into this. This is what started this whole thing with the brothers. And it's just hit everybody from the side.
Didn't they send a letter like that to Pence himself too?
Oh,
There's a lot of depth. A lot of depth.
So from my understanding, Nancy Pelosi's been served by U.S. Marshals, I think, twice.
There's been served. Now, here's the thing. The Brunson brothers have actually subpoenaed. They've drafted subpoenas for all 388 members. So this is kind of a sidebar to this case. This is sitting on the fact that they've already written and drafted subpoenas, and there was a delivery of the subpoena to Nancy Pelosi that actually we've got video of it with the marshals there in the rotunda of the Capitol building, telling her, don't say anything. You can hear her advisor walking with her from the door saying, don't tell him anything. I won't, she said. So yes, you're right on that. Here's the gravity of this situation. This case brought forth, or this docket, this case that's brought forth by the Brunson brothers, is one that has nothing at all to do with election fraud.
Yep.
Nothing at all to do with election fraud.
Yes, or Trump.
Breaching the oath.
Yeah.
That is the most important part.
It is the fact that when they poo-pooed those 100 members of the House and Senate, when they failed to say, okay, we'll give you the 10 days, go check it out, they had a breach in their oath of office.
Failed to do their legal duty.
They failed to uphold the oath of office.
Now, Ron, do we think
voting to thwart our investigation?
Well, so basically we have 2 lawsuits right now, correct?
Yeah, there's more.
But 2 from the brothers, right? And one has made it to the 4, but one has made to the Supreme Court, correct?
One has made it to the Supreme Court. They're all identical lawsuits, identical verbiage.
Because here's my question I had by reading it. It was that the whole case was based off of them not holding to their constitutional oath they took, defending the Constitution. Yep. How far of a stretch? Because my first impression was it's kind of a far stretch to say that they broke the Constitution.
Members of Congress. That's where it comes into play. It's the 100 members of the Constitution. If you or me or anyone in this panel was to say, hey, there's fraud, you need to go look at it, it would have just been, yeah. But when you have got sworn
credible witnesses,
they're not even the credible side of it. They are elected officials of the representatives of the constituents.
So it's the same thing it's the same thing as a police officer seeing somebody getting killed and keeping his head turned the other way and not doing anything about it.
Bingo.
Basically.
Yep.
And
Bingo.
don't you think that all this coming out, especially today with Nancy coming out to find out that Nancy Pelosi really had part of the January 6th insurrection that was actually used? We all know she. Hold on, we all knew she did, especially coming from. I'm pretty sure 2 people that were there. So, I'm just gonna say that was used in order to not be able to get those 10 days. That's why Trump keeps saying the insurrection was not January 6th. It was November 3rd.
Well, would you like to have a sidebar to the case for just a moment? And I'll tell you that according to Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution and the 12th Amendment, there is only one body within each state can make a decision on a federal election protocol. That body is the state legislature. Not your governors, not your secretary of states, not your Supreme Court of the state. It is the legislature, and only the legislature. Article 2, Section 1 in the 12th Amendment. This is where the problem they knew on J6 what was happening. Five states of the 6 battleground states, my home state here in Nevada, they shoved through AB 4 at 2 o'clock in the morning back before the election. And AB 4 at 2 o'clock in the morning was to allow mail-in balloting. So they ran through the assembly to the state senate to the governor's office, and they ramrodded it without running it to the people. So Nevada was the only one that did it per the Constitution. The other 5 states, however, did not. You have, in the case of Pennsylvania, it was the Secretary of the State working with the state Supreme Court in the state of Pennsylvania that said that mail-in balloting would all of a sudden be allowed. It was not a legislative decision, and therefore it was anti-constitutional.
It was legal.
Same thing for the other 4 states. So you had Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia. These are all these states that ramrodded through, and Arizona, they ramrodded changes to the federal election protocols without running them through their state legislatures. This is exactly why Rudy Giuliani went and had hearings with each of the state legislatures to show them the evidence of malfeasance. And then you had those state legislatures had to select an electoral slate of electors. On January 6th, we have 50 states. Therefore, you would have 50 slates, and you would give 3 to the District of Columbia. You would have 50 slates that the president of the Senate, the vice president of the United States, would tally. Now, in the Constitution, it says absolutely nothing about the vice president of the United States or the president of the Senate would have a decision, only to tally. No decisions to be made. On January 6th, there was more than 50 slates, however, because 5 of the states, actually, including there were 6 of the states, actually had the legislatures meet and had a second slate. So you had a slate that was in front of the Senate from the governor's certified election, the Secretary of State certified election, but not the Senate, not the legislatures of 5 of those. They changed the verbiage of how they opened the protocol when they did the count, and they left the word legislative certification out. And Pence read a new preamble that said state certification, dropping legislative. By that deal there, he committed treason at that moment, because he made a decision not to look at the legislatively certified slates, which contains the votes of the electors, which are brought together by the legislative body. And that is per the Constitution. So it was an anti-constitutional act. They knew it. J6, Pelosi and her crew knew that that was not going to make it past everybody, and they needed a distraction. And that's where
Now,
we can say,
what can they do if they hear this case and they find that it's legitimate grievance? What can they do?
Then what would happen is they don't have, you're not going to see any arrests. There will not be any arrests. If, let's just say, for instance, that on the 6th of January, and there's nothing that says they have to do it on the 6th. They can do it on any Friday between now and the 6th. The 6th lands on a Friday because they meet on Fridays. And as long as they're able to meet and hold this conference, they could have it. They could have already had it. We don't know. But it is scheduled for the 6th of January. let's say that they do the conference and they get 4 justices that says move forward to argumental hearing. At that moment, it goes in to the 9 justices and they vote. Again, we would see that since it's made it to there could very well be that Biden's selection for the Supreme Court, the last justice to go on, have to recuse herself. Because if Biden is considered illegitimate by this decision, then she is illegitimate.
That honestly,
they
wow,
literally
I didn't.
that election, right? Is that correct?
I
Say
didn't think of that.
Trump come back. Let's say the Supreme Court says, okay, we're gonna, because this case that has gotten to the Supreme Court, what I understand is against Biden, Harris, and Pence, right?
In the
Yep,
executive branch,
against-
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
against 388 members,
And
of which
plus,
3 of them.
Yes.
Plus the rest of them, but
Plus
the
the
3
rest
of
of
them were
and-
the most
and-
interested.
And wait,
And-
there's actually up to 100 more in the
Yes.
case, because there's a John and J. Doe clause of 1 to 100 also in the case. So
Yeah.
that could be governors, secretary of states, that could be anybody that they deem did the same
So
thing.
basically, saying in a very like stupidest way, this whole entire lawsuit and what we're trying to do here is because they went against
They're
the
out.
investigation.
Yeah.
It's
Correct?
because they certified the election in 2020 without giving us
So
a
there was a
proper investigation.
proposition. Yeah, there was a proposition of an investigation, and they literally just said no.
They
This
say
is
no.
why this whole
Yes.
entire
They said-
case is against these 3 and plus 385 people. And if we will win this case, then that means that these 3 people and the rest of 385 probably are going to have to be removed, correct? From
Yeah,
the
it's
office.
basically means that they lose their ability to serve in any office ever.
Okay, so
So-
after
And the what?
that happens,
It takes away their press pass.
correct. If that happens, we got no president, we got no vice president, and then we got no third person that is able to.
We got no
Yeah,
speaker.
so
That we got.
does that mean Trump's coming back?
Now
That
let
means
me-
a lot more than Trump's coming back. That means the military
that-
stepping in.
That's where this comes in, because in this case it actually says, and I'm gonna pull that up. In this case, it specifically states in the and the questions presented that right in here is found within the United States of America, and at that time, the same time the trial court has the authority. So if they make the decision, and it's saying, this is talking about the decision, if it's to be validated by this court, to authorize the swearing in of the legal and rightful heirs for president and vice president of the United States. So it means that should they decertify effectively by this case, they decertify the election because of this, we have to remember something. Donald Trump never conceded the election.
Oh, I was just about to say that.
So
Yeah,
since he
You
never
read my mind,
conceded,
dude.
he never conceded, what he's going to wind up being is that heir. But because Pence is named in it, he is a standalone. Now, here's what could happen. They say Donald Trump is going to be sworn in as the president. He will basically be reinaugurated, but it's not a second term because there was no election certification. It is his first term. So now he steps in and immediately calls for a national emergency, and he asks the military to get involved. The military now comes in because it would be relatively quick. He would work with the governors of every state to be able to place new senators, because you only have 6 senators that are not on this list. So you'd have, so you would have the governors would be asked to present or to put forward a senator, and then you would have special elections would be called for for the House members to be replaced. All of this would suspend habeas corpus, which occurred in 1863 under the Lincoln administration as well. So again, there's precedents. So by suspending habeas corpus, we know that from the adjustments of 2015 and 2016, that there are three forms of law in the United States. There is criminal, there is civil, and there is military law, also known as martial law. And so the martial law would take hold. Now, remember, this is a federal case. You still have the individual state sovereignties in the 10th Amendment. So all 50 states are still operating with their government in place. This is federal and only federal, unless John and Jay Doe happens to bring charges among those others.
That's what I was going to ask too, is how many of the governors and the state secretaries going to be affected? Because as we know, some of the state secretaries were kind of fishy as well. And I remember in Wisconsin, I can't remember the details, but they were trying to, the Wisconsin, was it the county supervisors, whatever, were trying to change election rules, the day before they were supposed to recount or something like that to try to get new people on there.
The county sheriff has actually stepped in on that and said that.
Yeah, and
he's
actually, I thought the Supreme Court did on the one I'm thinking of. The Supreme Court stepped in and said, no, you can't do that. You have to go with the rules you had, and because there was a recall, you still have to go by those rules. You can't change the rules and go with new rules for the recall. You have to go with like only bullies will change the rules in the middle of the game.
That's right.
Hey, Ron,
cowards, bully cowards.
Ron, can I ask you to explain something for us real quick?
Sure.
So kind of like what Sean was.
Listen, I am pulling a really good numbers right now with everyone's channel. Why don't Nick just explain us about the letters?
Okay, yeah. All right. So what the letter? So our way as patriots of supporting this case and trying to show our support to the Supreme Court, and not only the Supreme Court, but to the brothers, there is a pre-drafted letter that I have in my description on the videos that I have presented about this case that has the letter. It also has both addresses, one to the Supreme Court and one to the brothers. So what they want you to do is they want you to send one letter to the Supreme Court. Simply just sign it. What this letter simply says pretty much is this: pretty much, we support this case. We support you. Thank you, pretty much. I mean, you're welcome to write anything you want in there, kind of like PSs. I've seen people kind of write, PS, thank you for your decision on Roe versus Wade. PS, hey, my grocery.
But you don't want to mention fraud.
Or PS, hey, my grocery.
There we go. Yeah, there's all the letters, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Round two. That's round 2 right there.
The numbers are right now, the Brunson brothers have received 40,000 letters to date.
Okay, listen. What do we do? Where do we go to find the pre-written form of that letter?
May I? The pre-form, in my opinion, is not one we want to use because it talks about election fraud. This case is not about election fraud. And to use those numbers, take that out. If you're going to use that, get it out of there, because this is not about a case of fraud. We have to get the fraud part out of there. There's been several of the letters that I've seen in pre-form. They may not all be that way, but the ones I have seen are talking about my support in the case about election fraud. That's not what this case is about, and that needs to come out of there, because that's not what this case is. And we don't want to have the left-wing media using that as a club to say, ooh, look, and giving the case a black eye by saying, hey, look at all these supporters out there talking about it being election fraud. That's not what this case is about.
Okay, this case is about the refusal
So
Not necessarily we can tell that there was, because we don't know if there was or there wasn't the election fraud. It's about them refusing to give us the right for an investigation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about the
Refusal
fact
for
that
the
we
10
don't know if
days.
there was, because they refused an investigation to find out whether or not it was. But yet they dedicated over 2 years, 3 years to say there was collusion.
Right.
You know, so why not? You know, why not at least investigate it? Every time there's something, you got to investigate it.
Yep.
And the fact that
Can
Pence
someone
did
give
not
me
say
a website where we can find the pre-written letter and where
So
we
let
can
me-
find the addresses?
So let me read you the letter that I have, because
Okay.
from what I'm going over it doesn't really say anything about election fraud. It says,
Okay.
"Dear
Right.
Justices."
Ours specifically don't talk about that.
good.
It says,
Very good.
It says this letter, "Dear Justice, this letter is to express my support of the above referred case. I am concerned the United States has experienced a national security breach and a violation of every citizen's greatest power in a republic, voting. I ask that you stand against the hindrance of foreign and domestic enemies and uphold the supreme law of the land by granting this petition. You are truly in a position that represents a court system greater than the world has ever seen. I, among many others, seem to witness our nation being captured, and I am left to wonder if I might be by some of these very responses. I pray for the right and just outcome, and I am grateful for your time and consideration. Sincerely, and it has a place for you to sign.
Right.
It says nothing about.
But the voting is inferred. The part about voting.
Well, I mean,
that infers that we're talking about the election. We're not talking about the election. You see what I'm saying? This case is not about the election. And so by saying that it's about our right and it's our voting, I get it. I agree with that. However, that would muddy the water because it's an inference to voter fraud. It's inferring that by just having that part in there. It may not mean a darn thing to the layman on the street, but it's the mainstream media and those idiots that are trolling, looking for anything and everything to be able to beat us on the head. Say it's those idiot MAGA people. You know, that
ammunition.
Can I say something to that? Because I think that comes to one of our biggest problems as conservatives is we pay more attention and more focus on what the right and what the mainstream media is going to say about us than just what our message really is about.
Screw
what they're going to say. Screw what they're going to say about us.
But again, do you want to black eye? Do you want a black eye? I don't want them to change an opinion of a mind in the justice. If they get a hold of that and they say, you know, they somehow are able to tweak one of those 4 that we need, now we got 3, we're done. So that's all I'm saying.
Now, do you think the Supreme Court justices are actually going to read 100,000 letters?
Yep. Well, no, I think they're going to be. I do think they do watch the news. In my opinion,
that's exactly my point. It does not matter what the letters are. They're not going to read these letters, guys. Trust me. This is strictly to count. This is to hold them to count. That's it.
We'll see.
With the Brunson brothers being copied, and you're doing 2 letters. You're doing one to the Senate, to the SCOTUS, and one to the Brunson brothers. Now the Brunson brothers receive a count. They know how many letters got there.
You got to put a dollar in there too.
Well, you don't have to, but it's good to put it in there. Just fold the dollar up and put in not in the SCOTUS.
Guys, let's
be the Brunson brothers.
Let's be clear to our viewers.
Right.
So we need people to send 2 letters, and we need them to express that they are in support of this case.
Yes.
Correct. And one goes to the Brunson brothers, and we have Texas Girl right now putting the address in the chat. So please copy that address and send 1 letter to these people, telling them that you are in support of the case. Just put it in your own words. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
pre-written letter or nothing like that.
That's
The
right. It's strictly
second
account.
letter-
It's a counting mechanism.
Exactly.
Right.
The
Can I
second
point out
letter will
Send in the
go to
letter.
Supreme Court, correct?
Yeah.
For
One
the
to the
case
Supreme
that
Court.
has already made it to Supreme Court.
It's
And
already
we will
there.
need that address. If Texas Girl could post it, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's coming
And
up.
we need you guys to send 2 letters. And please, you have to do this. You
Yes,
have to,
we
for
do.
the sake of
Do-
this country.
There's no
You have-
excuse.
Don't put $1 in the SCOTUS letter. Only put
Yes,
it, if you're going to put
thank
$1,
you.
only put it in the Brunson letter.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, because
So if we were to put $1 in it to support someone who is doing good for us, it will be only in a letter for Brunson. Supreme
dollar
Court
goes
has
a long
already
way.
gotten so much money.
They
I don't
get,
think we
they get
have to
enough of
reward
our
them.
money. We don't need to send them any more. Come on.
Yes, exactly.
You know, they have put more than $2 million out of their pocket into this case.
2 million. Yes. Yep.
I can
Fast.
I can say the addresses out loud real quick if you'd like me to too. I got them pulled up. So the
Yes,
Supreme Court
please.
is you can either put SCOTUS, you can put Supreme Court of the United States. It's First Street, New England, Washington D.C. 20543. And then the Brunsons, where the heck did that just go? I just had that pulled up.
It's the Brunson
Okay.
Brothers, 4287 South Harrison Boulevard, number 132, Ogden, Utah, 84403.
Perfect.
And to your point, I really do think it would mean more to people if they actually did write their own letter. The only
Yeah,
reason
I
why
agree.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
the only reason
The
why
handwritten
I
Handing
letters-
them out, man. We were
A
literally
handwritten
handing
letter
them out
is
to-
Handwritten
always
letter
best.
always goes better because they're not getting the same thing. If they see the same thing, the first couple lines, everybody's the same. They're probably gonna read that
That's
and
true.
put it to the side. They're not even gonna read the rest of it. But I keep having people posting the case number as well, which is 22-380.
Yes.
only
And
reason why I
wanted
bring
I wanted to point out something. I got a little bloviate a little bit here, as Spectre likes to do. You talk about the media talking about us being, saying it was all about election fraud. We know they're still gonna call it that. They're still gonna say we're calling it that. Doesn't matter what we write letters about.
Exactly.
But to me, if we make it about that, it also makes a difference as well. And if we make
I
it
agree
about
with that.
something that's a little bit more like we all know we all have
Bingo.
suspicions there was, right? But if
Right.
we make it something that it's the topic of something that actually has more value, that has proof, then we can
Yeah.
go into the election fraud discussion after that.
Exactly. That's what I was just going to say. If we're constantly getting bashed. I mean, I've been doing articles for 4 years on my sites, and I've written articles about the fraud, just never ending. I wrote a 5-page letter to President Trump. I've got his return letters that I've got hanging here on the wall that he's written me. So handwritten letters are absolutely the best, but words matter. And if we're looking like what they're trying to personify us as, just stink on the bottom of your shoe MAGA Republicans, okay, that we're feeding into their hands. If they turn around and they say, well, that's about that election fraud. Well, no, I apologize that you read it that way, but no, it's not about election fraud. It's about someone not doing their duty, not doing what they took an oath to do. You can actually do a pivot on them, and that's like, whoa, wait a minute, I wasn't expecting that. And I've already run across that as it stands, where people are saying, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, okay, that's fine. That's why we have our First Amendment. I can think what I think and see what I see and write what I write, but hey, we can agree to disagree. That's
Right.
what makes this a beautiful country.
But we're
Well,
supposed to
so-
hate
guys-
each other.
You know,
Right.
guys, we have been on these panels for forever, right? Everyone, almost everyone, except probably Sean and Nick. That might be one of your first panels, maybe with us. But I have been doing those for like months. Vern was doing his for months. Grey Wolf was the one who decided after the freedom movement we had with the truckers, he decides to walk all around the country and raise awareness. You
Awesome.
know, if we really are going to think about the solutions here, and if we want action, we have to really get on that letters. Instead
Exactly.
of just talking, please grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, write it down. I am in the support of. There is a docket number in the chat. Write that docket number and please send it to both the brothers and Supreme Court. There's an address there. This is your action. This is something you can do to change this country for the better. If you really
Right.
do believe that we never have gotten an honest election, this is your time to really do something and change. Here we go. Hold on. I'm going to show you. Yep. You can do this and you can help us change the world this time around, because if we will get rid of the current government, we will have the chance to have a powerful country like we had before. We
So
were awesome. Now the whole freaking continent has no leader. Everyone is laughing at us. No
Absolutely.
Well, look at what
is-
they just did
no one
yesterday.
respects
So
us.
embarrassing.
You know,
I'm
I have
embarrassed.
spent the entire day today just fuming. I mean, just fuming about what occurred in our people's house yesterday. I mean, you know, to try and peel myself off of that ceiling, to see that we've got a Ukrainian flag being flown in our house, and we've got a 13-fold flag being given to a man who has, even Trump stated, he even stated during the campaign in 2020, he said, if Biden gets into office, the Ukraine will rule America.
Yep.
And
Yes.
so you're seeing
Well,
this.
they're
You're seeing
sucking
this
it
right
dry.
now.
this is all
You
a
know?
show, guys. It's all a show. Enjoy
Ukraine
the
is
show.
doing more than ruling America; it's sucking America dry.
Well, that's the rule.
It's the world's
What they're
biggest
doing.
laundromat.
Think about
It's
this.
money
If you know,
laundering 101. That's
bingo,
exactly what
money
it is.
laundering 101.
Money
Between,
laundering 101.
not to mention it's blackmail.
Yep.
We already
Absolutely.
know that you've got a compromised resident who this comes down to those four individuals, and I can say that here because we're not on the YouTube. We have got Biden, we have got Kerry, we have got Pelosi, and we have got Romney. These four individuals all have kids that are connected to
Kids.
the Ukraine,
We got
and they have been
McCain.
taking money.
The
And
lithium batteries.
but these four are tied to energy sectors within
Absolutely.
the Ukraine that have been taking millions of dollars out of the Ukraine. Now, think about this for just a moment. Zelensky knows he's got them bent over a barrel. So he turns around and he says, guess what? I want this many billions of dollars, and you're going to give it, or the world's going to learn what's actually happening.
Yep.
Okay. So there's your blackmail, and they'll
Got
say,
him balls.
okay, well, we'll give you a kickback, right? You know, so that you can this is why Pelosi is sitting there giving him a kiss on the freaking floor. You know,
Second.
we'll give you this. This is exactly the primary reason. Number two is you got SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried.
I mean
That
FTX.
guy,
Oh.
Sam Bankman-Fried.
I thought you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know you're giving
So
his
Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF, who operated FTX, right? The cryptocurrency. I call it the crypto laundry service, because what he did was he went to the Ukraine and he got Zelensky to take the money that we're sending into the Ukraine and invest it back into the cryptocurrency, of which he gave $40 million back to the Democrat election campaigns, and he put lots and lots of money into both Republicans and Democrats' pockets
I was about to
on the
say,
Hill.
our Republican senator here in Maine, Susan Collins. I keep calling her out on Facebook about it. But hold on.
Yep.
I can't believe
Hold on,
people keep voting for her.
let me get back to the letter subject real quick
Go
because
for
I
it.
wanted to
Ryan.
say something. So the only reason why I talk about the pre-drafted letters is because, as Sean will testify to this, people right now are lazy, and
Totally.
so
I'm
that
just
is
hypersensitive to it. I mean, if they want to do it. I'm just hypersensitive to that crap.
That is the easiest way for me. So I'll explain to you what I've been doing this week. So what I do is I got 100 of the letters. I got it printed off. I got them I got envelopes that have they got the address labeled.
Stickers, yeah.
I got the stickers. I got them on them. And what I do is I've been walking around Walmart, and what I do is I literally have them
Get me
folded.
out of there.
I've been kicked out a couple of times because it's just who I am. But so what I did is I fold up one envelope that has the Brunson brothers, and then I have one for the Supreme Court, and I fold up that flyer that I showed you around the envelopes, and I just walk around and I hand them to people, and I say, hey, listen, this could be the most important case of your lifetime. And then I also have my website, which is PWA 1776, right down at the bottom of the flyer. And if you go to our website and you click on, you'll see a picture of this exact flyer. And if you click on this picture, it pulls up a video of Lloyd talking about the case. And then right after Lloyd, it talks about me. It has a video of me explaining the letters and what to do with the letters. And I say, hey, listen, there's 2 letters that's attached to this flyer. There's a video that'll explain what to do with those letters. If you need more, get a hold of me. You can throw them away if you want. But at least I know that I've tried to get the word out. I've called the Howie Carr show 3 days in a row trying to get on there. And they keep telling me, well, he hasn't looked into it yet. Why hasn't anyone in mainstream media talked about this? I mean, the only person...
It's against the narrative.
Hey, Nick, what was the website again?
It's PWA1776.info. And as soon as you go...
Okay.
.info, yes. And there's a picture of the flyer. As soon as you go on there, if you click on that flyer, it goes to the Rumble video where it has Lloyd explaining the case and, like, gives you a little bit of hope. And I tell everybody, yeah, you might think that the Supreme Court might not take this case, but when you hear Lloyd talk about why this case was taken and what had to happen for it to be in the position that it is now, you'll want to send that letter. I mean, you'll take 5 minutes to go on Facebook and make a 5-minute rant about how the economy is this and how Joe Biden is this, knowing that that's not going to have any effect but give you a bunch of likes and everybody comment and make you feel good, but you won't take 5 minutes to write a letter and send it. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the response is, well, our courts are corrupt. It's not going to matter.
I had a good question pop up, and I wish I'd have thought about it earlier. Breaking Spectre would have been a good one to have on the panel. Agnes, I'm sorry, I've completely spaced out on that one. He said, "What's the point of any politician swearing an oath if they don't honor it?"
Absolutely.
And this would be something to where if
this is holding their feet to the fire.
Even if it only affects a few of them, right? Like I've always said, what is the best way to get our politicians to stand in line and actually do what they're told and what they swore to uphold? And that is to get a few of them at the top to the point where it scares the rest of them. Make them live in fear.
This would anyone that certified the election in 2020 would never be able to hold office again.
Ever.
That's
local,
that's
state, federal, none of it.
From my understanding, that's 388. That's half of our Republican Party, and that's every Democrat, because every Democrat voted
that's
to
the
certify
problem,
the
though.
election.
That's the problem that I have, and I've been speaking on it for a while. The problem I have with that is they're still in the game. They can be out of office, and they're still in the game because they have all the connections.
Yep.
Well, they're
They
not
have
in the
all-
game
No,
because
Because once they
No,
leave
no, no,
office,
no. I'm
then they
saying
don't have the immunity no more, and that opens them up to tribunals.
right, but they also know the game better than we do as far as in the background.
Right. But
Like
that's
they can
there's
pull a lot
nothing
more
we can
strings
do
in the background that
to
we can't, that we don't have an understanding in. They know who to go to. They know how to speak behind the closed doors that we'll never see. So
when
to me,
you're taking
it
out
should actually
3/4 of them
go.
though.
To me, it should actually go further than that. Throw them in Gitmo.
Okay.
Oh,
So
that's coming.
let me tell you that this is where we stopped talking about it so we could talk about the letters. What this case does is this removes their ability to run in any office. This does not, however, talk about the criminal cases that come thereafter.
Yep.
The Supreme Court doesn't do criminal case. So
Right.
once this happens, then this sets precedence for the big, deep, multi-layered class action lawsuits that are going to be all over this country. The other thing is that the new Congress coming in would be able to stop the influx of the deep state connectivity that is tied to these individuals. They're going to be so many. There's going to be so many lawsuits if this is passed in the Supreme Court. The secondary and tertiary lawsuits that come out criminally and or military tribunal type stuff, where they are collected and they are taken as an enemy of the state. That would be a treasonous act, which, by the way, is mentioned in this case. If they're found that this case moves, they are being called treasonists.
Yep. Their immunity clause is taken away. Am I right?
It's all gone. It's
Yep.
all gone. Their immunity is gone. They are going to try and claim immunity for this docket, and that doesn't fly because the oath can never be immune.
Well,
That's
because
why
this is
they're all
about
sitting
the
there
oath.
thinking about. But
Because this is
what's
about
that?
the oath. That's because this is about the oath and nothing else.
That's correct.
Right?
Which is why they can't stand on immunity. They
And that's
can't
what
stand
people
on
need to
immunity.
understand, because and that's what everyone freaks out about. They're like, "Oh, they're gonna get immunity. The courts are crooked." What he just said is exactly right, 100%. And you've explained this case way better than I probably would have been able to explain it. One thing I would like for you to explain, though, is what I tried to get you to explain it earlier. What Sean kind of talked about, where the lawyer kind of signed the waiver for them to have their right to have a rebuttal.
Okay, I got that on the screen.
I think that's a very important.
This is where I was going into it, the context of it. If we go back over here to the SCOTUS page, all right. This SCOTUS page is important that you go through and you look at the actual petitions. Okay, what you get is the fact that the petition has been filed. So this is the petition. In this particular petition, we see that it was mailed on October 20th. This is when it was received, or when it was considered part of the Supreme Court action. Was they mailed it on the 20th? It was received on the 24th, and this is when it was docketed. It was on the 24th of October. Now, by law, they have to have a response within 30 days. By law. So, given that the 24th of November fell on Thanksgiving Day, this gave the date of November 23rd as being the respond by date. So what did they do? They did receive a response, and this is the response right here. This response talks to the fact that the government hereby waives its right to file a response. What that says is that the U.S. attorneys that would normally start flooding in to represent all 388 of these individuals is gone. They all have a single representation known as the Solicitor General.
That's important.
The Solicitor General is the only representation. But because there's no response, this means that they cannot bring anything to the table. They can't bring any kind of an account. They can't bring anything to the Supreme Court and argue because they waived their right to. So this
That's
is going to be extremely
important.
because now they have no U.S. attorneys in the room. They have all 388 of individuals have a single solicitor general. They have no merit. They have nothing to bring to the table. The only thing that they'll try, and which is I'm sure what they're going to try, is the immunity clause of Congress. That won't fly because the oath is exempt from the immunity clause.
Right.
And when
So
when they take the
so
oath,
are they in a sense, are they claiming the Fifth Amendment?
they wouldn't be able to claim nothing.
No, I'm saying, is that why they don't have a response? Is that
No.
what they're doing?
No, they're just saying, you know what? Basically, way I look at it, they just basically said this is all bogus. What the hell? We're not going to reply to this. This is just bogus. Little do they know that this is the largest case in the United States today. So what they've done is they've stepped all over themselves. They've stepped all over themselves because now they can't bring any contrary evidential information. There's no discovery. There's no rebuttal. There's no argument whatsoever. And when they come in and say, well, the only case that they have in merit is on prior cases of precedence is the immunity clause. That's it. So this is what they're going to try and fly with. Well, they're not going to make it. They can't make it. Arguments, when this comes out of Congress and you get 4 justices say, we're moving forward to a hearing, there's nothing to hear. It's literally the justices looking back on the case and saying, well, you can't claim immunity because the claim is that you broke the oath. So you're done. And then we're going to take a vote. Theoretically, they could call for the hearing right after the conference. They could just turn around and say, hey, let's just have let's go from conference to hearing. We're not even going to have to put out any notification for people to come to the hearing because they already waived their right.
Do you think it will be speedy?
I think it will be speedy. There's
what I would give every dollar that I have, which isn't much, to see is the backroom talks that are going on of people trying to keep this covered up.
I would love to be a fly.
Like for those that are saying, oh, it's just bogus, we ain't gonna do nothing. But then in the background, they're talking to the justices, just going, hey man, you can't do this. You got to make this disappear.
Well, one thing you got to remember too, what the Biden administration is trying to do to our Supreme Court. The Biden administration is not only trying to put term limits on our Supreme Court, they're trying to pack our Supreme Court. So
right,
this turnaround.
Well, now you gotta clarify that
they can't do anything. It's done.
You got to clarify that though, because remember they changed the term for packing the courts. Remember that?
Yeah,
It used to be packing the courts, adding seats, and now they're saying that packing the courts is just filling the seats.
But what I'm saying is this gives the Supreme Court a loaded gun right back at the Biden administration.
Right.
This is the Supreme Court being able to take a stand and saying, no, you're not going to change how the Supreme Court is. You're not going to pack the Supreme Court. You're not going to put term limits on us. Now, the question is, can we count on the 3 Supreme Court justices that Trump put in? Because we know we can count on Clarence Thomas. Let me
ask you a question.
That's my favorite Supreme Court
Let me ask
justice.
you a question, Corn Pop. What have you seen? What decisions have you seen from John Roberts?
As far as what do you mean?
What opinions have you seen him write in the last couple of months?
As far as putting
John
things
Roberts has been pretty much out of the picture. The several opinions. I mean, he's there. I'm just saying the opinions. His own opinion writing has gone to zip. He is.
I don't think
most of the opinions that are coming in are coming from Clarence Thomas.
Clarence Thomas. I was going to say that too.
Clarence
Yep.
Thomas is writing the opinions of the Supreme Court right now. So you've got the 4 of them, right? So you've got, now people are looking and saying, well, we've got Amy Coney Barrett, we've got Kavanaugh, we've got Justice Thomas, and then we've got, shoot, his name is just escaping me.
Roberts.
Well, you got Roberts, but still, this is going to the point to where if the conference is voted on by the 4 and it passes conference to hearing, this is where I think they're going to ask the new gal, I don't even know her name, the one that can't define a woman, is going to be asked.
It's Ketanji Jackson.
Jackson. Okay. She's going to be asked to recuse herself from the.
Well, she
I
about
honestly
has
think-
to.
I think it's going to be if she does recuse herself. If not, I still think it would be either an 8-0 or a 9-0 because, like we've been trying to express 100%. This isn't about election fraud. This is a
Right.
constitutional matter.
Right.
So
There's so many people scared about what happens when we lose 388 members of the government on one day. There's not going to be any arrests. There's no arrests. Okay. The best time to do this is on Christmas break. Okay.
Actually,
personally,
I have a quick answer for that. I have a very quick, funny answer for that. People are going to wonder what we're going to do without 388 of our government members. We're going to
save a
find
bunch
out.
of money.
We're going to find out exactly how much our government actually is worth.
Right.
Which is
Well,
nothing.
It's nothing. Why do they call it a Congress? That's also what they call a bunch of baboons too, right?
Yeah.
Colony of baboons. So listen, the fact is everyone's concerned about what's going to happen when the 388 go out. The best time to do this is when they're already out of office.
Right.
Because now it's not just those 388 members. It's going to be all the aides. They're going to be escorted off of the property by the Capitol Police. There will be the marshals brought in to say all of their security clearances are cleared. Boom, they're all done. If they have been on a committee that required a security clearance, that's all revoked. Everything, but the sub cases that come from this are what about all the decisions? Because let's not forget that what happened on January 6th when they took care of just January 6th of the president and vice president was the 2020 election, where we already know that Michigan had a seat lost to cheating, where we had 2 members lost in Georgia on January 5th of 21. I mean,
Definitely.
So this makes Article 1, Article 2, Article 1 and 2 of the Constitution in crises, okay, which is your legislative branch and your administrative branch, okay, the executive branch. Those 2 are in crisis right off the bat. And when I say that they're in crisis, that means that they're non-functional, they're considered illegitimate. What is that going to do to every single case from the 117th that has been pushed through? Every single one of them, every signature that the resident has put to paper, every executive order that has been put to paper becomes completely nullified. It is absolutely, it was a non-president signature at that point.
Now, does anybody
boom.
Does anybody know what else was passed kind of during the same break? Well, kind of like what you're talking about, like in this like December, January break, kind of like it was really significant. The Federal Reserve Act was passed on December 25th when Congress went into the same kind of situation that they're going into now, kind of like what he's talking about, the exact same thing, which enslaved all of us.
Yep.
There's a lot of things. I mean, we don't even know what's in this 4,000 omnibus.
No.
We don't know if they've hidden, certain things that are in this omnibus bill. You got 4,000 plus pages in the omnibus bill that they're looking to shove down our throats, where you've got $47 billion to Ukraine. You've got Michelle Obama path, and the money going.
Talking about Big Mike.
Big Mike. Yeah. Big dangly.
Sorry. I'm glad you guys knew about that too.
So yeah, big Mike. So these are the things that the people I speak to, they're afraid of government shutdown. They're afraid of if they turn around, they may not say that Trump is the heir. They may say that Kevin McCarthy will be the heir. Kevin McCarthy
God,
is
let's
not
hope
named.
not.
No,
He is
that's
not
just like
named in this
Nancy
388 names. So they take out, and the reason that I say that is this. Right now, you've got Biden and Harris and Pelosi to the end of the year. On the 6th, we've got a new 118th Congress,
Right.
which means we have a new Speaker of the House.
Yep.
Kevin
Trump
McCarthy.
is backing Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House is because he's not on this lawsuit, is from what I'm
He's
hearing.
not in this lawsuit. He's not part of these 388 names. He did not vote to certify.
But Kevin McCarthy is just, I'm sorry, he is a rhino. He is
Absolutely.
I don't like him.
He is just like
Absolutely.
Kemp. I lived in Georgia for 12 years. He is just like Kemp. With that we need to separate from someone like that.
What I don't like is what I saw yesterday with the fact that he took the U.S. flag pin off of his lapel and put a lapel pin of the Ukrainian flag.
See, and that's the crazy part. Look, see, and I'm glad you said that because here in Maine, there's so many people that have a Ukraine flag outside their house. And what pisses me off the most is, you know what flag they don't have? The
American
freaking
flag.
American flag.
Yeah.
They have
That's crazy.
every social justice warrior flag out there. The gay flag, the pride flag, the fucking Black Lives Matter flag, this flag, that flag. Not knowing that if they flew that flag in that country, you would actually be killed.
Right.
Yep.
Sure. I get that.
That gives you the right to fly all those flags.
See, and this is the thing. When we look at McCarthy and we look and say, hey, McCarthy, did he take any money from SBF? From FTX, I should say, from Sam Bankman-Fried? Do we know? So how many members of Congress that were oohing and ahhing, McConnell's in that. I've been saying for 4 years that McConnell was compromised. Here he is married to a woman whose father is part of the CCP shipping arena.
For real.
And he's taken gifts from father-in-law who is part of the CCP. So McConnell has been a problem for decades. But now on the House side of things, you've got how many people last night were sitting there making comments. Look at Lindsey Graham today. Lindsey Graham, oh my God, this is the most important thing we should be doing for America. How about Title 42 expiration on the southern border? Well, Title 42, we're gonna have anywhere up to 18,000 people a day coming across the southern border when Title 42 expires. And if we didn't have a Supreme Court hold off on that right now, what are we talking about?
The number one. Now?
What's that?
Isn't it gone by now? Title 42?
No, they just pushed it out and put a stay on it, but it was due to expire on the 20th of this month. So
has anyone questioned? Has anyone wondered why we haven't had a State of the Union yet?
Well, you're going to get that. We've had them. I just haven't watched them. You're going to be
January.
January.
I don't think Biden did a State of the Union yet.
Yeah, he did.
He did?
Yeah.
I think he did one like 2-3 months late the first year.
He did it.
Yeah, he did it.
If you want to call it that.
I couldn't watch it because
I didn't see it.
I couldn't watch it. So, I couldn't watch it. But my point here is that we've got a lot of compromised individuals. We got Lindsey Graham, they're all gushing over Zelensky. Okay. And the flag on his lapel today had me going, where have we gone? I even put a tweet out earlier that said that what Trump predicted in 2020, when he said if Biden wins, that Ukraine would rule the United States. And with that comment, yesterday proved it. It made me sick to my stomach to see this guy taking our 13-fold flag and holding it up for a photo op in our Congress, in our people's house. Like, guess who owns you guys? That's exactly what I saw. So we have to clear that whole freaking menagerie out of there. We can start with the 388, which, by the way, this lawsuit or this Supreme Court docket, it's not a case, docket. This Supreme Court docket came out of the blue. Came out of the blue. Nobody expected this to come out. This is kind of a drop of a seed from heaven. Okay.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because it's 4 brothers that are trumpeters.
I love it, right? They're all trumpeters. And so we look at this and we say, what if the Brunson brothers had not have stepped up? Where would we be trying to take this? Okay. Let's assume, with the bird in hand, 2 in the bush, let's assume for just a moment that we're looking upon the military to do their duty, to step in where they see wrongdoing. And I said earlier, Article 1 and Article 2 of the Constitution are already in crisis. What about Article 3, the judiciary branch? Okay. That is our Supreme Court and our U.S. Justice Courts, our appellate courts. With all 3 branches of the government that would be in crisis, you have a duty as the Marine Corps of the United States to step in and clean house. It is their duty to do so. And I would think, if I was a commander sitting up there with some stars on my lapel, that I would want to do something before those jerks stand up there on the 3rd of January and take the oath a second time. The 117th is where the problem is. And I don't want to poison the 118th.
I wish I'm going to look for it right now, but you just brought up a good thing that I should bring up. Trump actually federalized
Executive Order 13.9.12.
Yes. How many National Guard members did he federalize in 20? What was it? What was the executive order? Was that
9.12, 13.9.12, or 13.19 as well? Executive Order. We're still working with Executive Order 13.848 and 13.849 as well.
Because I'm pretty sure we have National Guardsmen that are actually conducting services outside
federal
of
services.
Federalized.
Federal service. They're federalized.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Federalized.
in 2015, we changed the DOD laws of war. Okay. And then we made a final update to the laws of war in 2016, in June of 2016. Okay. That made a huge impact to what it is that we're seeing going on in the United States, specifically DOD laws of war, Chapter 11. And if we go to that, we have what is called a belligerent occupation, where the occupiers, which is the enemy, we would be the belligerent occupation of a foreign country. For instance, we go into Afghanistan, and we go into Iraq. We go in under a belligerent occupation against an enemy-forced government. We look at 11.2 for the beginning of occupation. We look to extract on 11.3, Chapter 11.3. And when you read the DOD laws of war, which is like 1,400 pages, and just go to Chapter 11 and read Chapter 11, knowing that we are the belligerent occupation when it comes to military. We're seeing a lot of that kind of stuff happening in the United States of America. A lot of people don't understand that 100 square miles called the District of Columbia is not U.S. territory. It is not sovereign U.S. territory or land. And it is that 100 square miles of territory there is foreign land. That's why our J6 prisoners are being treated the way they are. And it's nothing, it's like we're going into to raise hell in Mexico City at the presidential palace. We would never see the light of day again, because we're occupiers in a foreign land. And that's pretty much what you've got going on down there with the district. And that goes back to the Act of 1871, which we could really get into in the Act of 1871, the original or the organic Constitution versus the change-up or USA Inc. So those are things to also consider. There's a lot in that laws of war that is tied to Executive Order 13.9.12. I believe it's 9.12. It might be 9.19, but it's one of those two. that talks about the federalization of the National Guard. And we're not talking about, I think we were talking about 3,500 troops here and there in the executive order. But anyone can look that up. You can Google the executive orders that Trump wrote. The specific ones that I look at, however, is 13848. 13848 talked about your foreign interference.
Okay? Yes.
And 13848 talks about the foreign interference to an election, written on September 12th of 2018. What is not known, however, by a lot of people is 13849. 13849 is the punishment if you're found to be guilty in 13848. By separating those two, he was able to keep the next administration from being able to go in and take them out.
Now, isn't for the one where it requires not the punishment but the other one?
8.
Now, when the 8 one. Now, when what's his face didn't give us the report for the foreign interference, I can't.
Radcliffe.
Radcliffe, yeah. When Radcliffe
yeah.
said, "Hey, listen, there could have been foreign interference, but I can't tell you how much it would have changed the election." By him not giving us that report,
he had
violated.
The report. He had the report. The reason he could not submit the report to Congress was threefold. He could not, by 13848, he had to have a signature from IC. There were 2 of the ICs, the CIA and the NSA, refused to sign the documents presented by Radcliffe. Okay, so the ICs delayed it. And on January 6th, he was to submit it to Congress. They refused to hear it. So the refusal now takes precedence. Just like we're working with in this docket, that also has precedence to say, we're going to do something about this. Now you go to 13849. This is where I think we're going to see some massive things going on. And that is the sanctions to everyone that was involved. This includes banks. So now you've got the central banking system is just going to go.
Yep.
If this comes to fruition, it's going to kill the central banks. It's going to take the Rothschilds out because they're going to be found complicit to these crimes. That's why I said the secondary, tertiary lawsuits coming from this particular docket are going to be pop the popcorn and sit back and watch. It's going to be a big show.
Now, am I mistaken, but can't we, we're not as smart and probably don't have as much money as the Brunson brothers, but can't we file the exact same lawsuits that they filed in state and federal court? Like, isn't that kind of like the president that there might be trying to say that each and one of us can file this exact same lawsuit?
Mind you, they did not use an attorney.
That's the best part. They didn't use a bar club member.
You don't have an attorney.
They do
you
not
don't
have
want an attorney.
They could, that saved them a lot of money, but they still put over $2 million into this task. So it is all about the money. If you can, I believe his name is Darren Brunson. Yep. He started years ago reading up on law, and he's not a lawyer, but he started reading up on it very much like I've been doing for years. And to say, how can I do this? If I don't know, let me go look it up. And contacting the court and saying, what do I have to do? I mean, they tell you exactly what size pages you got to use, how you've got to package it up and everything. But not to mention the fact that you've got to put it into the proper verbiage. Now, those people are out there saying, this is just, I could have written a better thing. Well, you've got to put it into the verbiage that the court wants. So this means the language, the way that it's spoken as well.
That's key to know too.
Yeah. And so this is where they received a lot of coaching. And I thought it was a brilliant letter our docket when I first read it about a month and a half ago. And in actuality, I read this on the 24th of October.
Yeah,
the day that it came through.
Nice.
I would I would say I probably found out about it. I think it was a couple of days after Thanksgiving was
Yep.
when they got excited when they found out that I guess
Right.
the lawyer, who is it that's
The US
actually representing them?
Well, that would have been the Solicitor General you're speaking
The
about?
Solicitor General, yes.
Right.
When the Solicitor General actually got appointed to representing them, and they actually, what was it? I think they had lawyers that they kind of got rid of, or was just kind of like.
Normally when an action comes forth to a congressional member, you would have a U.S. attorney step in. They refused to bring in the U.S. attorneys.
Now, can you just describe what the Solicitor General, like what her role, like who that is, and what
that's
their role is in
Elizabeth. That's Elizabeth Prelogger, I believe her name is. She is, she's going to be consulting with these individuals that are named as the petitioners, and she would be consulting with them as to what she's going to represent. So she's probably running around like a little jackrabbit right now, and with a notepad and saying, what is it what's your take on this? Okay, can we record this? Boom, 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 and then going back. And even though none of this can be submitted, she's just wanting to get an understanding of what people feel about it. And that the AOCs of the world is going, well, I'm being told that it's nothing. It's a nothing burger. Well, good luck.
Now the reason why those can't be submitted too is because she actually filed that waiver. She
filed a waiver
instead of actually
no evidence whatsoever, no comments whatsoever can be submitted into the case. It's already the response that would have had to be into the response within that first 30-day window. They would have drafted everybody's responses, and they would have had 388 responses. Boom, not a one.
I didn't mean to get you to repeat that. I just really think that's really important for us to kind of stress. Especially to the people that, when you're trying to, especially me, where I'm out in Walmart and I'm trying to explain this to the average person, and their immediate response is, well, our court system ain't going to do nothing. And I'm like, well, hey, listen, just take 5 minutes and listen to what this guy has to say, and what he's saying, and how it's gotten to the point to where it's at now.
What are they saying, the court system, when they say court system? They're talking about SCOTUS?
Yeah, they're like, oh, the SCOTUS is corrupt. They're not gonna do that.
You know what that is? That's ignorance.
Yeah,
that's completely
100%.
100% of the individuals that you're speaking to don't know the first thing about what the SCOTUS does. They don't know the first thing about. I'll guarantee you, if you ask them what the 3 branches of government are, that they couldn't tell you where it lands. But they couldn't tell you.
But Ron,
maybe the shopping cart over there is one. When was the revolution? I think it was 1976, or
But
you get those answers.
Not to defend anyone like that, or not to make a defense, but that's kind of where America's at right now. Is we stop teaching.
You don't have to tell me.
I know I don't have to tell you that, but I mean that's just kind of stating the obvious. But that's kind of where we've at. That's kind of where we're at now in a society, is that most people don't know how our government works. Honestly, I didn't know until I realized, hey, I got a 4-year-old son that's growing up in this world. And if I don't start stepping up and doing something about it, he's going to have to apologize in 5 years for being a straight white male.
Right.
If
not tomorrow.
He already does.
That's what it's going to.
Well, take a look at what you've heard about the Stanford deal, right?
Oh yeah, you can't say you're an American.
But you know what didn't hit the list? It's on the list that got delayed. The word stupid.
What?
I'm serious, and it's like, is this a parody? I can't say stupid anymore. You stupid idiot.
That's
I mean.
That is stupid.
I can't be an American. Well, I got news for you. I'm going to be a patriotic American until the day I stop taking breaths. So
that's why.
Same here.
Well, that's why it's. Go ahead, Sean.
I said same here, man. That's all.
Well, that's why right now it's important. Kind of going back to what I was saying before, for us, especially me, because especially if you look me up on the internet, dude, I got so many people up here in Maine I mean, that follow me around and fucking write shit about me all over Facebook and all this. But we need more people to stand up and just speak the truth and not be afraid of what the left is going to say about us, and care and spend less energy worrying about what people say about us and spend more energy into what our movement is, because they're going to say that about us no matter what.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're going to call us the names that they call us. They're going to say what they want about us no matter what. We know what we're doing is right. We're on the right side of history.
Yep. Generally, if I'm told I can't say a certain thing, I'll repeat it 3 times.
Same here, man.
I say it, not only do I repeat it 3 times, but I also say it a different way each time I say it.
Well, yeah.
So I don't know if you guys know much about me, but like I said in the opening, I was with Vern. We were in the People's Convoy, but I'm gonna buzz down here.
And I wasn't there, huh?
Oh, yes, you were.
I don't know what
sorry.
you're talking
I
about. I don't know what you're talking about.
Not only let me clarify, I'll just
Oh,
switch
my.
back. Not only was she there, she was in the right seat of my truck.
Hey, I will say this. Anyone that was part of that convoy, I appreciate you guys. I did stand on the side of the interstate and kind of show the support for the people driving through. That was as much as I could do, but I really wish that we as Americans did more for that convoy. I really feel like we failed. I really do feel like we failed in that aspect. We should have been what Brazil is doing right now.
Yep.
That should have been us in that convoy.
I was just going to go there. I was just going to go there because, you know, convoys have to roll. I mean, that's a lot of people were thinking that the convoy is going to be the Marine Corps and go in and shut down Washington, D.C. and remove the tyranny. It was never.
You really could have.
So
you really could have.
No, that's
Our
where.
Support.
If we would have known that there was 10 million people sitting behind us ready to come in to DC with us, that would have been a different story. But
like Brazil.
at that time, we were 300 trucks and 1,000 cars.
And you can't do that. You can't do that by yourselves.
You can't. And so here's the deal. I went on the 8th. I was part of the delegation that went to the senators. And in those conversations with the senators and with Congress, I asked specifically, what do we have to do to get people's attention and to make change in the United States? And awesome, Senator Cruz said, you have to get to the people. You have to get people. So this is my website. This is what on July 2nd, I started walking to go across the country. Okay. I started developing some health issues in along the way here, and then had to turn around in Terre Haute, Indiana, and start coming back, both for a political issue because the elections had occurred, and quite honestly, as Agnes can attest to, she met up with us in Effingham, Illinois, and the people weren't coming out. They weren't standing up. So
no, you're absolutely right.
We need, and you can see we've got some postcards here on this. We're not done with the walk, by the way. The walk, we have simply taken a pause, coming back and regrouping, and part 2 is coming. And with what we're talking about is what will it take to make change? You know, you see in here in the website, I talk about the fact that mandates, for instance, a lot of the mandates are starting to come back. Mandates are nothing more than a decision made by a mafioso in a cigar smoke-filled room, is what this is basically talking to.
I don't think mandates is going to be it, but I mean,
this is just part.
I thought them coming after our kids was going to be enough, but that's not even enough for people to stand up.
What people have to do, you hit the nail on the head. And what I've been saying, I just was on a couple of different broadcasts. I was on Frank Speech TV. I've been on Wendy Bell Radio. I've been on, in fact, just day before yesterday, I think it was, I was on AMP, and in January I'm going to be working with Scott McKay, the Patriot Street Fighter.
Oh
And
man, I love him.
So
Nice.
this isn't over. This is just beginning, and you know, and I've got the doctors. I've got Dr. Lockham Up. He's part of the team. I've got Dr. Pierre Corey, who's part of the team. This is where we've got to take this, and I'm still talking about this today. Brazil is a prime example. They are our proxy. Okay, what do I mean by that? Their election system is the exact same election system that we have in the United States. They cheated in Brazil exactly the same way that they have cheated on us since we know of 2004. Okay, we know of this. We know that George Soros, who came out of the Diebold, who had 52% of the Diebold stuff, that now you're talking about the Dominion. You're talking about, you know, the 3-letter agencies working with Hammer and Scorecard. You know, all of this stuff. We know all of this. We've got all of this information. Yeah, we've got the supercomputers that have been utilized. We've got Seidel Corporation that was taken down in Frankfurt, Germany. Frankfurt, Germany. But Seidel Corporation, a Barcelona-based company, turns out that was a 3-letter agency's front. Okay, it starts with a C, ends with an A. So
you talking about the people that killed JFK?
That's right. That's right. And
I didn't say it.
Yeah. So those are the people that are Seidel Corporation, and they're working heavily with Dominion. Yes, I said it. They're working with ES&S. They're working with all of these different machine companies. I mean, come on. If it's a Windows machine, it's hackable, period. If it's a Singularity database, it is completely and utterly changeable. If you're not using a blockchain type of a database system, you're missing the boat. And for our elections, we shouldn't be anything but paper ballots. And which leads me to believe that if the military does step in and does do their duty and does hold elections, that we will go to the ballot, we will do a paper ballot, we will stick our finger in a cup of ink, we will show ID, and the ink will be the indicator that we can't just jump over to the next polling station and vote again. Okay. So these are the things that we have to do to get voter integrity. But back to your point, in order to get people engaged, we need to get on the street. You've already been doing street work. I've got some people that I'm trying to set up all over the country to be ambassadors for what the name of this movement is, the Gray Wolf Walk. This is but exactly to build a Brazil event, a Brazil style event in the United States of America. We're seeing them all over. We're seeing them in Frankfurt. We're seeing them in France. We're seeing them in New Zealand. We're seeing Peru lately. Hell, we're even seeing Tehran. We're seeing people stand up. They've had enough. But we're not seeing it in the United States.
I gotta bloviate again about how we were talking about how we couldn't have done it with the convoy. I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I think I'm gonna put this out before I continue with that. Generally speaking, only 1 out of 10 people actually ever stand up and do anything. 1 out of 10 people will actually hear you when you speak. 1 out of 10 people, basically, you get the gist. 1 out of 10 people for everything that's important. Most of those people are nothing but lazy followers. What I noticed with the convoy was it was amazing until we got to Indiana. Something changed. And part of that was because when we got to Indiana, there was a lot of rowdy people, and I don't know any of them by name, but you could feel it. There was a lot of rowdy people that were the type of people that were like, no, I'm not going. I don't feel it's important enough to join in California or to join in New Mexico or to join in Texas. But when it got cool, when it got popular, they joined the crowd and we joined the convoy kind of deal, right? So the reason I say that is because if we would have done what we should have done, because
What
of
would
the
that have been?
lazy ones, I'm talking going in instead of just going around the Beltway doing more. maybe park in DC, going in doing something like maybe 10-4 DC did, parking on the
Right.
mall.
Can
But
I
because of the fact-
inject a thought real quick?
No, well, the reason I'm saying that is because when people see that you're actually doing what you said you're going to do, then they tend to activate. And usually it's like a day or so later, you'll see the bigger crowd coming in behind you.
Yeah,
That's
but you
what you
can't
would
shut
hope.
down
Make
the
that first
DC.
step.
You can't shut down the DC belt without an army behind you. Without an army behind you
See,
supporting you.
on the first day that we went around the Beltway, we had the nose touch the tail, 64 miles in length. That was a day that we could have blocked all the exits and the on-ramps of the Beltway and got some attention. But here's what I'm going to say. We were classified 2 weeks before we left Atalanta. We were classified by DHS as a potential domestic terrorist threat.
Well, that's where we went
Okay.
wrong. We shouldn't have
Well,
cared. Let 'em.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Why
This is
care?
great that-
Let them.
Why care? Why care? Because it changes the rules in DC. Because now you go into DC and you take your truck down to DC, you are now, if it just takes one hothead to hit a cop. One.
He's right
You
on
don't
there,
need a whole
because
bunch of
DC
people.
Well, see,
Now,
that's
hold on. Let me finish. Now that one hothead gives them cause to say this is another insurrection attempt. And now everybody that's in the district, because that's a foreign territory, you lose your truck and you don't go to the impound lot and get it back because it's the RICO Act.
But
So
they could have
you
done that
lose
with a
everything.
false flag.
They could have done that with what false flags?
What I'm saying is they could have someone they could like to your point, they could have someone posing as a trucker and do that and
Yes.
cause that. So,
yes.
so
Yes.
why-
That's exactly
absolutely.
what happened too.
Right. That's exactly
Remember
what I'm
that?
talking about.
So to his point, why even worry about that?
Because
Check
it's
shit
not
out.
it's not the United States. It's not the US. The fight is not in DC, gentlemen. The fight is what lives in DC. And the fight is the decisions made in DC, but it's not in DC. The 10th
I agree with you
Amendment,
there.
the 10th
So why
Amendment
not-
gives us the power to
So
do
why not
this.
surround the border of DC itself?
That's what we were supposed to do.
See, if we had done that, I believe we'd have had tenfold of
That's the
people
Beltway.
showing up behind us.
But
That's
at
the
the
Beltway.
same time, but hold on. To his point, to Ron's point, you can't expect these truckers to do something that big without knowing, especially coming from someone like me that literally goes out and stands in front of stands and talks to traffic by myself and listens to people screaming. You can't expect the truckers to do something that big and be put on the news and be called what they are without knowing that they have the support of millions of people. You know, if they
Right.
knew that they had
Well,
the
see, and that-
support of people like Brazil, if they knew the people were going to come out like the people did in Brazil, I guarantee
And it would,
you our truckers
and it would take a
would've stopped.
week. It would take a week if you were able to
But-
convince them. It would take a week
But
to
but
get
at the
them
same
there
time, the
from
American
across the
people,
Well,
country.
and see, that's
the American people are not hurting enough. We don't care enough.
Thank you.
Our
you.
our pockets ain't hurting enough.
we haven't
We're
lost
too
enough.
busy focused. You're
See-
exactly right. We're still worried about Christmas. We're still Christmas shopping. Are you
I'm
kidding
not.
me?
I
A
already
single
told everybody
father,
there's no gifts coming from me.
a
You know,
single father
but
for me.
I get
three
this is-
toys
I
are
get your point.
$75.
See, that's what
I get your point, but this is where I'm just trying to tell you this. The plan for this convoy was never to actually go into DC. It was never the plan. What the plan was to go around the Beltway until the nose touched the tail, and on the Beltway outside of the district, because the Beltway is outside of the district, then everybody go and play cockroaches when the light comes on and block off all of the exit ways and the on-ramps, and you get 12 or 14 hours of shutdown. You now get media attention, which is what we were thriving for.
Right.
But that didn't happen, and that could have only been done in the first 3 days of arriving
Right.
in Hagerstown.
Well,
And we didn't
because
have
you
the
lose
numbers.
I think we would have had the numbers. We did have
We
the
didn't have.
numbers.
We
No,
had the
guys,
numbers day
we did
one.
not
I'll
have
agree
the
with
Right.
that.
But after
We're
like 2 or
not.
3 days,
What I'm saying is this: day 4, they made the decision to go out and tell people to take down their FJB signs and all their different flags. We lost 50% of the population that
You
next
damn
day.
right. I would
We
leave
lost-
too if you told me to take down my FJB
Exactly.
flag. You
Which I
fucking
told
right.
them that would be a very bad idea for a freedom of choice movement to tell
Well, you
them
know
that
what?
they
I
don't have
asked
a choice.
somebody.
We're out here.
I asked one person that was complaining about that, and honestly, people need to really think about this. One person was in that lot complaining about it on the CB. I said, "Let me ask you a question. How many people on the overpasses that you went under had an FJB flag or a Trump flag?" He goes,
lot.
"Well, yeah, you got a point." I said, "Now, how many of those did you flip off because they had that? How many of those did you not honk because they had that?" He goes, "You do have a point." I said, "Well, then you might as well shut up and stay or leave."
Right.
Look,
He's like,
you guys are proving. I'm gonna explain to you right now what our biggest problem right now in the right is, because you're proving our point is we spend so much energy fighting amongst ourselves
That's
than
right.
we do fighting the problem that's actually presented in front of us. We spend more time bickering about, oh, should we wave Trump flags? Should we wave this? Should we wave
Right.
that? I hate to break it to you. People in other countries are waving Trump flags. And it's not because of
Yes.
Trump. It's not because we
It's
think
the
Trump
mean-
is the Messiah. It's because
It's the meaning
it's
of
the
what it
name.
brings the freedom.
Trump is the leader of this movement right now.
Right.
And he is the leader of the freedom movement. There's a reason why people in communist countries are waving the Trump flag. It's not because they worship Trump and they think this guy is the Messiah.
Yeah.
It's because it is the leading movement of the freedom movement.
Right. Now, see, I had said, if you had a plan, if you had a strategy to be able to go into the district with not 1 million people, but literally travel into the district 10 million strong, you effectively shut it down. You go in with 1 or even 2 million, you don't have enough people.
We need
And
to be
not to
like
mention-
Brazil.
Exactly. That's why I said, and I said it when I started the walk, I wanted to see a slug of people of when I look behind me that they've got to close the roads down. And you know this, Agnes, because we've talked about this, is there'd be so many people behind me that they'd have to close the roads down going all the way across the country.
Well, see, and
And
that's
more
why
and more
Never
people.
going to happen, guys. This is just never going to happen.
Yeah.
We listen. We have a slightest problem to come together on the damn freaking flag.
"Yeah,
Are you
exactly."
kidding me? My first day in Hagerstown, I'm wearing a fuck Biden flag on my back.
Right.
Because I am my own leader. I am a leader of myself, and no one will ever tell me what should I fly, what I shouldn't fly, what kind of a freaking hat am I going to wear.
And that's what they had a problem with.
That's what the problem was. That's why it died, is
cannot
because too
ever
many
tell
people.
anybody what to do.
we were too busy fighting.
For who they
We're
are.
too busy
Yeah.
fighting amongst ourselves and wasting that energy fighting with you, fighting with this person, because we're worried about our image instead of actually fighting the people that's actually causing the problems. That's what our problem. That's why the main. I mean, I don't know about the GOP where you guys are from, but I'll tell you what, the main GOP here in Maine, that's our biggest problem, is we're too busy fighting amongst each others, and that's why our candidates don't get elected. That's why we fail after every election. The Democrats, they stick together. They might not agree on everything, but you know what? They don't throw the next person under the bus because they said something crazy. They fucking stick by each other. They're not like, oh, this person's MAGA conservative. Don't. You know what I'm saying? They stick by each other.
But
And
you
that's
know
our
what,
biggest
guys?
problem.
But listen, why do we need to have some kind of a leaders into doing something?
We
Why
don't.
do we look up to one certain person and be like, oh, the leadership was weak?
Because
Like,
I think that's
Well, if you want,
I think that's kind of like
there should
I think
not
that's
be
kind of
anybody.
There should
really
be a
there
goal.
as
And
well,
there should
well,
be-
just come against
be
us.
organized.
Make
To
him
be
live.
organized, you
The
about need
organized
to.
side of it. And I agree with you, Agnes. What I'm saying is that this is the problem that we have in America. When I made the reference that we've got Brazil, we've got Peru, we've got all of these countries that are standing up. How are they doing that? They're organized and they're on the same page.
Correct.
They're all looking and saying, I don't give a
Exactly.
shit what flag you have. I don't
Yeah.
care what,
Exactly.
if you wear green and you wear yellow, come. That's where we can say we are Brazil. And I've been saying now for months, we are Americans. I don't care if you're on the left. I don't care if you're on the right, up the middle. I'm personally nonpartisan, registered nonpartisan. So I don't give a crap if you're a Republican or if you're an independent or whatever you are. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care what nationality you are. If you're an American, this is an American problem. It's an American solution. But if we don't come together, unite, and have the same cause, we're not going to go anywhere except sit here and go,
Yep.
well, let me know when it's time to lock and load and I'll see you on there. That's bull. If you can't organize,
brother.
if you cannot organize to try and do a peaceful resolution, what the hell makes you think that you're going to organize to do a violent revolution?
Oh my
You sound
gosh,
exactly
you just
like me because
nailed
I've
it
been
on
saying.
the
You sound exactly like me. I've been saying the same thing. People that saying, "Call me when the shootings start." I'm like, you're the last person I'm going to call.
Right?
If
Can I
that's who
go?
you are, you're the last person I'm going to call because you can't
I
show
am
up when it's
trying.
peaceful.
I've
Then
given
you can't
everything
show
up.
up when it gets dangerous.
I've given
And there's
everything. You know,
there's,
I've
there's
lost my company. Gray Wolf Transportation is no more. I got no more trucking company. I got no more Patriot.
He agrees.
So look at that. Love it. Because this is it. I
Dude,
cannot
you nailed
sit
it.
here.
You nailed it on the coffin with what you just said. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Not
But
a
you
problem.
literally nailed it on the coffin. I'm sorry. Like seriously, Ron, you did. With
I
what
got
you
to
just
point
said.
out. There's somebody that said something a while back. I don't know if you guys watched Tim Pool or not, but he had somebody on his
Yep.
show a couple months
Who?
ago, and Tim Pool.
Tim Pool.
Yeah, you need to look him up. You need to look
Tim
him up.
Cass.
He
Tim
has
Cass.
He's pretty good.
he has a
Always wears a
panel every
beanie.
night. Yeah, always wears a beanie. Anyway, he had somebody on his panel, and they were talking about a food shortage coming up a couple months ago, and it was either him or one of his guests that said, "Okay, bring it," and everybody in the room was like, "Wait a minute, we don't want a food shortage."
Oh, I
I
heard
go,
that.
actually, yes, you do want a food shortage because when people are hungry, we're not going to care whether somebody calls you a man or a woman or
We're gonna
whatever
wake up.
72 genders that you need. We're not going to care about all this BS that's going on in this country. We're going to care about what's going to feed us.
We're
So
gonna turn
let
into
people go
Brazil.
hungry. If there's going to be a food shortage, bring it. If there's going to be a recession, bring it. I want it here because I want you to sit there and go, you know what? All this other stuff was BS. We
That's
need
right.
to fix the problem,
That's
not
exactly
the
what's
stupid stuff that's going on.
That's exactly what's going to wake people up. Like the other day, I was literally cashing out at the gas station, right? I was buying something and the woman scanning it, she had a mask on. I didn't say anything. I'm sorry, but if you're wearing a mask in today's world right now, you're an idiot, okay? The CDC even said it doesn't work, but I'm not going to say anything else. She scanned whatever I bought and she goes, "Wow, that must be made of gold." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Everything's going up." I said, "Hell, even eggs are what, $6 a carton?" And she goes, "Yeah."
$8 a dozen here.
She goes, "Yeah,
Holy
I just
cow.
don't understand." I was like,
Wow.
I was like, "I do
If
understand."
I try
I
to
was
buy a
like,
steak, it's almost $17 a pound for a steak here.
Ours here
we
ain't bad.
understand.
Ours is still around $10, $12 a pound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
Wow.
simply, I was like, "Yeah, I understand." We got Joe Biden as president, dude. She got so defensive as she was cashing me out. Now, granted, her name tag said she was the manager of the gas station, right? And she's literally screaming at me, "This isn't Joe Biden's fault." Blah blah blah. All I simply looked at her and I said, "You're right, ma'am," because prices magically jumped up in the last 2 years, and walked off.
Right.
Like,
That's the thing. Those are the people that are listening. Those are the people that are listening to the CNNs and the MSNBCs and all of those Rachel Maddows. Hey, look, my family, my mom is one of those that watches those channels. I've had so many people say, "How can you do this? You're alienating your family." Because this is it. I'm old enough to where I've got no more to give. I
For real.
gave I raised my hand and I gave an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. It didn't have an expiration date. So the expiration date of my oath is when I take my last breath. That's the expiration date of that. So what can I do?
Yep.
At my age, what can I do to fix this problem? I met with the senators. I asked them their opinions. I met with 5 different congressmen. I got their opinions. I met with Mastriano and 2 other state senators in Pennsylvania. I got their opinions. And they all said the same thing, that until the people can come together and in mass, and there's not going to be any change. There won't be any change until the people can come together. And your guys are hitting the nail on the head. The fact of the matter is that they're not hurting enough because
we're not.
You're
still able to go out and buy Christmas. You're still able to, I mean, people are still going out to dinners. People are still going out to the bars. I'm sorry. I don't see
what's
how
it going to
people are
take.
doing
Now,
that.
see, I am world travel. I've been to Brazil. I've been to Sao Paulo. I've been over to the coastline over there on Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. I've been there. These are people that are proud, but they don't have a lot. When you go to Sao Paulo, you've got what, 1.5 million people living in that one town, in that one city, and that they've got these shanty towns where the government comes in and builds and leaves blocks and wood, and they go up, and every couple of years they go and they tear down the shanty towns and they put new wood and building materials up, and these people build their homes up the hills, up the side of the hills, called shanty towns. But they have nothing. They make whatever it is. They farm where they can farm in their little area that they lay claim to. But they're a proud people. They are proud people. What I'm seeing in this country, and trust me, I've already gone across 6 states and talking to the people, is I'm not seeing the pride in an American pride like I see in these other countries.
That's because we don't have to work for what we have nowadays.
Well, no, and it's
Well,
not only
actually,
that,
there
it's
is a version
the
of
indoctrination.
There is a version of American pride that's destroying us.
Yes,
it's the American pride. It's the American pride of it can't happen here, right?
That's
like
well, that's
people
ignorance.
Like Dan Bongino actually brought this up when he wrote that first book about Follow the Money, which I don't follow him anymore, but he had said the hardest thing for me was to accept the fact that it can happen here, and that it did happen here. That I think is like they also come with a denial,
right,
to a point, because we have the American pride of it can't happen here, but it does, and then it's a matter of getting people to wake up. And what I recently started calling people. I used to say it's patriots or not a patriot. Now it's a patriot, a lazy patriot, and not a patriot. What I call a lazy patriot is the one that will go out there and vote and expect all their problems to go away.
Right.
Like what I've asked them before is they were talking about DeWine and the other loser that was on the ballot. There was 2 losers on the ballot, DeWine and the other one. Well, I don't want to vote for DeWine, but I don't want this guy to freaking get the ticket. I said, which one is worse? A Republican that's a liar or a Democrat that's a liar? Which one's worse? I said, that's why you vote for the person that is like, even if you have to write in a name, vote. Like what I said was go into the history of who was in the primaries and write in the person that was runner up in the primary. Make that a standard. And then
that's a smart idea.
Well, then you're going to go give this other Democrat the position. I said, who cares? So that's why you don't be a lazy patriot and you get out there and you protest. That's why we have this country. It doesn't matter who's behind the freaking desk. They're both crap.
If we had people up and go ahead.
I was about to say we had people in Maine that ran on the Maine GOP that the GOP didn't even know that they were running. They didn't help them with any funding, nothing. That's how bad the GOP has failed us here in Maine.
All over the country.
Let me remind you, our GOP senator is Susan Collins, FTX #1 donator, and literally the crazy
Recipient.
part about that recipient. My bad. I'm sorry, recipient. I said that wrong. But what's crazy about that is 90% of the main GOP still supports her, and you know what their #1 reason is? She brings a lot of money to the state of Maine.
Yep.
I
It's all about the
wonder
money.
where that money's coming from.
It's about the money, and she also is very compliant to what they want.
Well, take a look at Murkowski, at Lisa Murkowski up in Alaska. It's the same deal. You know, the GOP and Mitch McConnell, because that's a state that doesn't that you can have 2 Republicans on the general ticket, for instance, or 2 Democrats or whatever, because it's a I think there's 6 states like Nevada. As an independent, I can't go to the primaries unless it's an independent I'm voting for. I can't cross that party line. Now that's going to be different because we just voted to be able to do that. But in Alaska, you had 2 Republicans. You had a very, very good Republican that was going to be that was running ahead in that Senate race up there. But he was $0 from the GOP and the Mitch McConnell family. The Mitch McConnells put all their work into Lisa Murkowski. And this is the kind of cheating and crap we're seeing going on is, it's crazy.
And see, and I, as anyone that knows me personally, knows me as Mr. Trump. I am one of the biggest Trump supporters out there, but I will call Trump out when my biggest problem with Trump right now, one, that he hasn't called out the vaccine, but the second one is that he didn't start a third party. I really think that we should have separated. He should have took the diehard conservatives, Matt Gaetz, all those other ones out. And you know what? Who cares if you split the vote? If they're not going to vote,
don't put it past him yet.
I'm just saying that was my. That's
it's like.
Well, see, that's
I'm
one
just
of the biggest,
saying. He's got the money to where. Let's not forget that
that's
the
one of our
GOP is saying
arguments.
that they're not going to put him when he's running for 24. The GOP has already said that he's not going to take the nomination. So
say that, but at the same time, he's backing Kevin McCarthy for Speaker of the House. He did back Dr. Oz. He made some questionable calls during the election. Me, as a big Trump supporter, I will, call him out for that certain things.
But you know what I
can see the reasoning behind Oz, and I also see the reasoning behind McCarthy, because if you don't get 218 votes, McCarthy doesn't get it. If they get 218 votes, and all of a sudden you've got Hakeem Jeffries from New York is all of a sudden the Speaker of the House. So that's damn if you don't. That is.
But do you sign a deal with the devil? But do you sign a deal with the devil just to get something done?
Exactly.
How
did we not meet before?
That's kind of going back to what we're, that's just like I was going to run for a school board seat up here in Maine. And in order for the GOP to back me, they told me I would have to separate myself from Trump. And I straight up told them, no, I'm not going to change who I am in order to win an election.
I'm looking for District 27 Assembly here in Nevada. So.
That's exactly what our problem is that I'm going to change who I am to get elected. And then as soon as I get elected, I'm going to go and be who I was supposed to be. No. And it kind of goes back to what I just said, and with that's one of our biggest problems. One of the biggest conversations that I caused up here in Maine, because I went to the Republican committee meeting here, is I keep telling all these Republicans, are we going to keep wasting our time trying to take this party over here in Maine? Or are we finally going to say, fuck it, and put our effort where it goes and actually just, it's going to take some time. Yeah. Well, it's going to take years.
It's going to take some different strategy though, because if you split if you split the party, you're giving the votes to the Democrats by default.
Well, but here's my question though. Here's my question on that, because I questioned the same thing. At what point do we play strategy, and at what point do we do what's right? Right?
Exactly.
So if the Democrat strategy, I'm saying you got to have both.
Well, no, but what my question is if Jeffries was to become Speaker of the House, who still controls all the committees? Still Republicans.
Speaker of the House.
Because they hold the majority.
Committees. It doesn't
Right,
matter if he holds
but
the majority. The Speaker of the House calls the committee leaders. The Speaker of the
So-
House is the one
Right.
that's in charge of the committees.
so we need to change that.
Got to have it in there and put for a rule. That's the
Hey.
point. The Speaker of the House doesn't even have to be an elected official. They
What do
can
y'all
turn
think
around
about
and
Trump
sit there
being
and say,
Speaker of
"Hey,
the
I want
House?
to put Ron Coleman in for Speaker of the House. 218 votes. I go in, and I'm not even a congressman."
We
I
all
think it
know
should
who
be
Matt
required
Gaetz.
that they're not a House member.
We all know who Matt Gaetz said he's voting for.
Who did he
Who?
say?
You ain't heard him say it? Trump.
No.
I'm sure I did, but it's I've
He's
slept
already
since
come-
then.
He's already come out and said that he would vote for Trump for Speaker of the House. That is a
Oh
rumor
yeah,
that has been that is a rumor that had been floating around for a little bit. But the thing is with that is Trump doesn't want to take it. Trump doesn't want
No.
Speaker of the House, which
No.
I think is kind of stupid of Trump. I think if
He
Trump
should definitely take it.
dude,
If he
Trump
does
took
take
Speaker,
it,
if Trump
if he
took
does
Speaker
take
of the
it,
House,
they would have
it would
put it where it would have worked. It won't work now because we don't have the Senate. If we had the Senate, if they hadn't cheated and taken away the 3 positions that I know of for the Senate, probably 4, then it makes sense. It makes good strategy. You bring in Trump as Speaker of the House, they impeach Biden and Harris. The Senate is the ones that now remove him because they wouldn't have an acquittal. They would remove both of them, and Trump becomes president.
Yeah, that
Well,
makes sense.
I don't even want him as Speaker of the House for the purpose of impeachment. I want him as Speaker of the House. I want him as
investigations.
Speaker of the House for the
That
for the
too.
simple reason of when you piss off the person that hates you the most, that's when they make mistakes, and that's what we need them to do is make mistakes.
Yeah, they're making them all over the place.
Right, but
They
can
are.
you imagine how bad it is then?
Yeah. So, if these speak, I doubt,
So-
seriously that's what we're seeing. I think what we're seeing is especially with this docket 22-380, this passes, Kevin McCarthy is scot-free. He's sitting there
That's
as
not
Speaker
good.
of the House.
That's like
He'll-
Jared Kushner taking over Twitter.
I get that. But if you don't, if you don't have the resident and the vice resident, then McCarthy's automatic if the Supreme Court fails to call on the lower court to make the rightful heir.
Well,
Honestly,
would
these
he
are major questions.
on a case like that? Would it kick it into a special election for president, or would somebody have
It
to
would.
serve the other 2 years?
No, you don't have a
No,
special election. You've got
Trump would serve
whoever.
the last 2 years because can't a president serve 10 years?
This is still considered under the 22nd on 22nd Amendment is 2 terms. Okay, 2 terms, a term being 4 years. However, if he never succeeded, and if he's classified as just being reinaugurated for the presidency, which I might add, there's some comments about that, then he's still in term 1, and he can
Okay,
still
see.
run for 24 as his second term.
See, I did see
So-
from my understanding was that he could at least serve at least 10 years, so he had to let Biden at least serve the first 2
See,
before any of this could happen.
That's a
here's
rumor.
my worry.
That's not
Here's
in the
my worry.
Constitution.
Here's my worry, though.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
corrected me on that.
No,
Yeah.
and we know how dirty that
It's not in-
that
it's not in the big
establishment
book.
likes to.
So,
Oh no,
We
listen.
know how dirty the establishment likes to play, and this is my worry.
Yeah.
Because that is sort of a gray area, and it can be interpreted in several different ways.
yeah, it's
This is
unfounded
where I
territory.
would. This is where I would venture to
Untraveled.
say this might be why they're not really concerned, because they could draw this out for another year and a half to almost 2 years, and then say, "Oh yeah, well yeah, he wasn't supposed to be president. Trump was actually supposed to be president. Let him be president for another week." And then say, "Oh, that's his second
No, they
term.
can't
so
draw
now
it
he can't
out.
serve."
They can't draw this out.
But that's what I'm saying. The establishment likes to draw everything out by whatever
Yeah.
reason they can draw it out, right? So if they draw it out to the point where there's like 1 week left in the presidency, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Trump was actually president the last 4 years, so that was his second term. So therefore, we get what we wanted, which is Biden shouldn't have been president. Trump should have been president, but yet we still lose because he got 1 week, right?
But to his
This
point,
is
I don't
where I
think they
see the
can stretch it
establishment
out.
trying to use that gray area.
No, they can't use it because that's not gray area. The Supreme Court,
I was
like
about to say, to his
Corn Pop
point,
said earlier, trust me, the Supreme Court is holding a gun back at the administration. They have got the power right now. All the power sits at the Supreme Court because they're sitting there saying, what are you going to do? We've got this docket that should we vote on this docket and this docket passes, you guys lose your security cards. You know, you lose your press pass. You can't even come into the press office. And at that moment in time, they don't have any power at all anyway. So there's nothing they can drag out.
this case didn't have to get this far.
This case was asked for by the Supreme Court.
They could have.
That's a good thing.
That's what this comes down to, is this Supreme Court asked for it. They could have taken it from the 10th and drug it out 6-8 months down the road and said, yeah, go ahead and put your Rule 11 in play, and then we'll take a look at it next June. They could have done that, but they didn't. They said, get it to us. 2 weeks is too long.
They called, from my understanding, after they filed Rule 11, they called the Brunson brothers.
Oh, they never filed Rule 11. They were told to prepare and to file Rule 11, but
I thought they did file it, and then once they filed it, that's when the court court actually ruled.
Nope. They never filed the Rule 11. They got it all printed. They had everything ready to put into the package and to FedEx it to the Supreme Court when the 10th made their decision. They called the court clerk, said the 10th just made a decision. Do we still need Rule 11? And they were told no. So it never made it to the Supreme Court. They were ready to send it to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court told them, drop Rule 11. You don't need it now. And so they went back to the drawing board.
But who in the Supreme Court, though? That's what I'm curious about. Who in the Supreme Court?
The court clerk, which is pretty much from, like I said, my understanding. I could be wrong. Ron is a lot more educated in this situation, I will say, than me.
But somebody had to.
The court clerk is the representative of all the Supreme Court justices in this instant right now.
But somebody had to tell them to, right?
The Supreme Court clerk was the one who told them. And again, we're talking about somebody who was the Supreme Court lawyer for 11 years and is now the Supreme Court clerk. And the Supreme Court clerk, I don't have the name here handy, but told them to drop the let me see here.
I'm going to the website now to look at the timeline. I can tell you right now.
Right. So the court clerk called them. Council record, the Supreme Court. So that they were told, you don't need to have that Rule 11. Go ahead and reestablish. So they stripped it of Rule 11, which then they have to go back to the printers to have new packets. They've got to have them done for each justice, and they've got to have them in a certain format. And then, because there's not only the docket, there's actually the case. And that's what, if you go to their website, the Brunson Brothers website, that you can, for $30, you can actually get the case that they filed. And that's the detailed stuff. But the docket, it's on its surface is going to be all, it's going to, you've got all case law and stuff like that.
So they had their second phone call with the Supreme Court on October 17th. And that's when Raland, when she asked for the revision, and it looks like that's
correct.
That was after the when they changed it from Rule 11 to actually go. That was correct. after the. So from my understanding was they were ready to file it. I guess
they were ready to file it. They were ready to literally drop it in FedEx.
And I guess the court kind of got heads up that they were ready to file it as a national emergency, and that's when they ruled on it. And that's when they revised it.
Each justice has a district that they're watching, District 10, I think, is Gorsuch. So
That's
I
good.
believe Gorsuch is in charge of District 10, if I'm not mistaken. So he would have seen this coming down the pipe on 10. And
Yeah.
he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You better do something about this. And
Other
so 10
question.
responded.
The other question I have when I was reading this, it didn't like it gave me a little bit like the link that Texas girl put up when I was reading. It gave me a little bit of information, but what it did not give me is who are the Brunson brothers.
Okay. The Brunson brothers are like you and me.
There's a
They are-
background
Right,
right
but
here.
they got money, so they're not like me because they got money.
Hey, I can
With
read
the
you their
exception-
background if you want.
With the exception, the Brunson brothers are to the point. They are citizens. They live in Ogden, Utah.
So they're not
And-
like an attorney firm. They're not like a politician, former
Nope, that's what I
politician,
said.
Dude,
former
if you looked
judge.
at a picture of these four brothers, you would have thought they were four liberals.
Players.
They
I thought that I didn't know it was them. I saw a picture. I didn't know it was them. I was like, "Who the hell is
Yeah.
that?"
they were trumpet
One of them
players.
looks like Carrot Top.
Because the one of them looked like a freaking Howard Stern type.
Yeah.
Had the long
He looks
curly
like
hair.
Carrot- I was gonna say, he
They're-
looks like Carrot Top.
They're musicians. They're musicians that have retired and have a little bit of money, and they're patriots. And they just said, "This is bullshit. We're going to take this to court." And so they're literally just citizens. They're not lawyers. They're not bar certified. They're not actual attorneys, and they didn't even use any attorneys to create this docket.
That's important to realize too, that they're not part of the Bar Club Association.
That's right.
Well, that's good.
That's real big. And also, there was just something that you just said too that literally just jumped off my head too. I wanted to point out that
Yeah, somebody's asking for the link. I'll have to go get that link.
what link to the website?
They're in my Rumble. They're asking for the link that I was talking about, I believe.
Well, the link to the Brunson Brothers website, I'll spell it out just so everybody has it. It's www.ralandbrunson.com. And on that website, they literally have a whole timeline of everything that's been docketed. And like he said, they have a link to where you can actually purchase the actual court case and I mean the court docket and everything on their website, and that goes to helping them fund this
Yeah.
The 2
So
million
this
they
is
put in.
this is amazing.
But I'm pretty sure these brothers actually too they played trumpet for a prior president in some kind of like
For Trump.
no, it wasn't Trump, it was a
Oh.
prior president. I think it was either Reagan or like an older president from what
Yeah.
I was listening to in a podcast. It was some kind of like event that they played for him.
Yeah.
And they played for Trump too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
No shit.
But
They
hey,
were part
I'll
of
say this, guys.
the 16
going-
campaign.
We've been going for like 2.5 hours. You know,
Diana GH said for Reagan.
Reagan.
Yeah.
That's who it was. You're absolutely right. Yep. Ron, I will say this. I am so thankful for you coming on here.
You're welcome.
You described this case way better than I probably could have. You know, like I know a lot of what you were saying, but for me to put it in words is, you know, like I haven't been on podcasts as much as you have. So for you to talk the way
Exactly.
you did and describe it the way you did was just perfect, and I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I
Nice
am going to
meeting you.
have to hop off of here. It's almost midnight, and I got some wood
Yeah.
turning to do tomorrow.
I'm sitting here looking at
Um,
Agnes's clock. It's 10-1.
10 to 1. Mine says
It's 10 to noon.
11:49 where I'm at.
yeah, mine says it's 11:49.
So you're on the East Coast. So Agnes, fix
Yes.
your clock.
She's not even.
go?
She
Or
gave
am I
up
looking
on
at
it.
it in reverse?
She might have had to go. She might have had to go get something to eat.
Hey Ron,
I've been walking around the kitchen now.
I would love to connect with you outside of this. If you could shoot me some kind of email or something.
You got my email if you go to that graywolfwalk.com.
Yep.
Greg, go to the graywolfwalk.com and go to the tab for contact?
I was gonna tell Corn Pop and Sean to email me as well. I like to connect with them as well. One
Yeah.
American No
Yeah,
Party at
So
American
let me
No Party at Gmail.
so before we all hop off here, where's everybody located at?
I'm in Reno, Nevada.
we're in
Okay.
Med- well, Maine.
We're in Maine. What about you, bud?
Tennessee.
I can tell by the accent. We're in Tennessee.
I didn't grow up in Tennessee though.
I lived in Chattanooga for a couple of years, so that's why I'm asking.
Oh yeah, I'm East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
I
can
won't
definitely
tell
tell.
where I'm at because I got some people that are trying to find where I'm at. So
I can
Tennessee's
definitely.
the best they get.
He said I'm from the East Coast.
Yeah.
I'm-
Well, I never grew up, but I got older in Indiana. Was Amish for like 13 years, and
Damn.
moved here like 2020. So
There you go. Hey.
but yeah, I'm gonna have to hop off. I do have to get going, but I gotta put my hat on one more time.
Love it.
Agnes,
I
it was
appreciate.
great. You guys can continue talking after I'm off, but I'm
I'm
gonna
going to
try
be
to get some
hopping off of
sleep.
here too. I've got it.
Yeah,
But,
I'm hopping
um,
off here as well, man. This went way longer
Agnes,
than
I
I expected.
appreciate the invite, and I really enjoyed the panel. Y'all were awesome. I appreciate all of you.
Yeah,
hey,
this
Ron,
was, listen, it's almost midnight here. I have another day of work tomorrow. My last
You want to
day
fix your
before-
clock in the background, by the way?
Well, that's an old hour actually because I never changed it. Because my body still thinks it's hour later. Okay.
Yeah. So you're always
So-
early?
Listen, guys, this was an amazing panel. I am still having so many people wanted to sit here and listen to the talk. And then counting all you guys' channels, Ron, thank you so much. And
You're
Ern,
welcome.
really, I appreciate you
we're
guys.
gonna have to do this again.
Yeah,
Yes,
giving
Hey,
me the
I'm so
opportunity
down.
to be able to stream on your channels and get the people, to really watch this. Because in my opinion, this was an important stream to really tell people about what this case is all about and about the
Absolutely.
letters. And really honestly, what we need to do is send those letters. And then I had some questions about the letters. So they were asking if they should put the docket number, together when they address the letter. Okay, so we can put the
Absolutely.
docket number there while it's addressed. And also they were asking if multiple people from one address may send letters from the same house.
Each
Yes.
person.
Correct.
Each
even did-
individual person
I-
do 2 letters.
Yep.
I even did one for my 4-year-old son. I had my 4-year-old son sign one with a crayon, and I recorded him doing it. And so, just in case the Supreme Court case does take this, and 15 years later, when he's learning about this in school, I can say, hey, listen, you were part of this movement. You sent a letter to the Supreme Court to take this case. Have everyone in your house send this letter.
Absolutely.
Everyone. It don't
Everyone.
matter the age. This is part of history, guys.
And
And that's
also
why-
make sure that you know that that's docket number, not case number. Docket number 22-380.
Exactly. And one other thing that they do want us to do that I don't think anyone talked about is on the back of the envelope right here on the flat. They would like for us to write what state it's coming from, so
Not
that
on the
this
front,
way
but on the back.
on the back right here on the flat. Yep. They would like for you to write what state it's coming from, so that they know that they're gonna the Brunson brothers are gonna calculate what states are participating in
Engaging.
this. And that's why it is important for all of us. Handwrite, one thing I will say, this letter means more to the person. This is probably the first letter that means more to the person writing it than it does to the person reading it. Because to the person reading it, this is all they're going to do is see the letter and put it to the side. Take the time. Don't, if you really want to, write your own letter, write your concerns, write why you support this case and why it is important for us to take Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and every Democrat out of office. Really put your feelings into this letter, because this letter means more to the person writing it than to the person reading it, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Actually, somebody said that in the chat that says first time that they actually feel like they can do something rather than say something and just praying.
Yes,
That's right.
exactly. And
Absolutely.
this is your time to take the matter in your hands. Just write the letter. So we know that one particular person can write what? 2 letters? Is that what it is? 2
You want
letters.
to you want to
So
send the
me,
exact you want to
myself,
send
and I. 2 letters.
you want to send the exact same letter that you're sending to the Supreme Court to the Brunson brothers. You want to
Correct.
send the exact same letter. So if you write your own personal letter, write that same personal letter to the brothers. What I would suggest is if you write your own letter, make a copy of it and send the copy of it to the Brunson brothers, but send the handwritten to the Supreme Court.
Yeah. And if I could add the actual count of the House members in that 388, 291 of them are from the House, 94 of them are from the Senate.
That's a lot of job openings.
Yeah.
Get your job applications out, folks.
A lot of job openings and a lot of senators and Congress people looking for barber college, if you ask me.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Can I
So when are we doing this again?
I don't know. Can I shout something out real quick, Agnes?
Yeah.
I want people to enjoy Sunday, Christmas Day at about
Yes.
5:45 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to be doing a big Christmas light. I'm going to go through a big Christmas light display at the Bristol Motor Speedway, and it's usually pretty
nice.
fantastic. So I'm going to stream the whole thing going through like I did last Sunday to a different one. So I want them to enjoy that for Christmas. So
Yeah.
5:45,
All right, guys.
and that's
yeah,
Central?
around 5:45, I'm gonna start it. We're gonna try to be there at 6, so it's gonna be around 5:45, 6 o'clock when we get there.
That's
Hey, I-
Central.
I wouldn't mind
Eastern.
doing this once a month.
Eastern time, 5:45.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Cool.
I'd be down for it.
Once a month, maybe once every other 2 weeks or something like that. I wouldn't be down.
Let's do
Well,
it.
we can try for once a month, and we can try everyone prepare something so everyone will have something to talk about, and then we can all respond.
Yeah, no, I think it was
We'll do
good because
that.
we came in tonight talking about the letters, but we also touched on a lot of different subjects that kind of
Yeah.
needed to be talked about, and I think it was really good. And I do think that all of us could meet probably once a month, and like you said, each of us come with a topic and all kind of share our view.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
great.
see,
That
even
would be
even
absolutely
Santa's kicking his feet in excitement. See that?
awesome. Yeah.
All right, guys, but I do think it's getting late. I do want
right.
to say one thing. I do want to say Merry Christmas to everybody. You guys have a good Christmas this weekend. And does anyone want to close us out in prayer?
Go for it.
All right, dear Heavenly Father, I just want to pray for our country. I want to pray for the 4 brothers. I want to pray for this case. Dear Lord, I hope your will is done, and I hope that I really hope that things are taken care of, and I also hope that we have a Merry Christmas, and I hope that this country is fixed real soon. I pray for all the people on this podcast. I pray that things go our way, and I pray for blessings coming our way. In your name I pray, amen.
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 All
Hey,
right,
you guys
y'all
have a
have
good
yourself
night.
a Merry
Just so you all
Christmas. I'm
know.
gonna hop off, and thank you, Agnes, for having me on. Thank you for the
Merry
good conversation.
Christmas.
And while Gray will puts on his
I've got my
his
tape
tinfoil
order.
hat.
Hey, where we go one, we go all, guys.
Yep. Make sure to email me.
Absolutely, guys.
Oh.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Agnes.
Yep.
Thanks.
Good
Hey,
night.
that was awesome. That was
We'll
awesome,
be in
Ron. Thank you
touch.
so much.
You're welcome, man.
You're gonna hit the leave.
I got to figure it out how to do it.
You did good. It was your first time. Okay, so just a short reminder, of making sure, please, everyone subscribe to Polish Agnes on Rumble, One American No Party on Rumble, Grey Wolf Ron on Rumble, and why is he gotta have such a wrong name? The Real Corn Pop 1776 on Rumble. Make sure you all come to Rumble, because this stream is definitely going to disappear from my YouTube. We all are going to leave it on Rumble. And if we will be doing this once a month and have these awesome streams, these awesome informative streams, and everyone can get prepared with the topic. Today was just a starting point. I felt like we need people that know what they're talking about to take us through so everyone can understand. These panels are definitely going to come back with Rumble and Rumble only. All I need you guys to do is subscribe to Rumble, and then I really, really need you to send those letters. If you haven't caught the address, I will post the addresses where we need to send the letters on my community page on YouTube, and they are also going to be on Facebook, so you can easily get it. One letter for one person, which that means you will send 2 letters, one for the brothers and one for the Supreme Court. And make sure you add the docket number. I will have all this information in my community page. Also, what I would love for you guys to do is pray for my 2 dear friends who have been diagnosed with cancer. And both are girls, and both are having surgeries over the Christmas. So if I can ask you guys to pray for them, for me, I would really appreciate that. I want to say goodbye and very happy holidays. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I will probably see you sometime soon. You guys take care. Oh, one more thing. Thank you so much to my moderators. You guys are doing an amazing job. Thank you so much for posting all the links. I appreciate Texas Girl coming in here and helping us with everything. I appreciate everyone who has posted any particular link that was helpful with the stream. This was an amazing job, and hopefully we can come together again. Take care.